Some nights, I stay up hugging my pillow pretending it's someone, not because I'm dramatic, but because it gets lonely when no one chooses you. You start wondering if love just missed you, if maybe everyone else got picked and you were the one who got skipped over. I tell myself I'm fine being alone, and most days I am, but late at night when the world is quiet, that's when the question comes back. Will love ever find me, or am I just meant to imagine it? I think the hardest part is not the loneliness. It's feeling like you have so much love to give and nowhere to put it, no hands to hold, no one to come home to, just you, your thoughts, and the same hope you keep tucking away every morning. And what scares me most is not being alone right now. It's the thought that maybe this is permanent. Being alone doesn't hurt the most. Being unchosen does. It's watching people find each other while you keep ending up by yourself. It's being told, your time will come so many times that it starts to feel like a placeholder sentence. You start questioning yourself. Am I too quiet? Too much? Not enough? You replay everything, trying to find the reason no one stayed. And late at night, when you're hugging a pillow, imagining it's someone who wants you back, those thoughts get louder. Not because you don't love yourself, but because you're tired of being the only one who does. The scary part is how slowly it affects your worth. You don't stop believing in love, you stop believing it wants you, and that's when loneliness becomes heavier than silence, because now it's not just about being alone, it's about wondering if something is wrong with you for being alone this long. This feeling doesn't mean you're unlovable, even though it really feels like it. It means you've been alone long enough for the silence to start telling stories. And silence is loud when it goes on too long. You start mistaking timing for rejection. You start turning waiting into a flaw. You start thinking love hasn't found you because you're missing something. But love doesn't work on fairness, and it doesn't run on schedules. Some people find it early. Some people find it after they've learned how to sit with themselves at night. And that doesn't make you behind. It makes you human. The fact that you still want love, still imagine it, still hope for it, even after feeling unchosen, that's not weakness. That's proof your heart didn't close. Imagining love at night doesn't make you desperate. It means you're human. You're not hugging a pillow because you're weak. You're doing it because your body remembers what closeness feels like, even when your life hasn't caught up yet. There's nothing wrong with wanting someone to come home to, with wishing there was a hand to reach for when the day finally goes quiet. The problem isn't that you imagine love, it's that you've been alone long enough to start believing wanting it is something you need to outgrow. But love isn't something you mature out of, something you wait for without turning against yourself in the meantime. You don't need to shame the part of you that still hopes at night. That part is just proof you haven't gone numb, and as long as you haven't gone numb, love hasn't missed you. Loneliness at night doesn't get to decide your future. Even when it feels endless, nights are heavy because they strip everything down. No distractions, no noise, just you and the question you try not to ask during the day. But night feelings aren't prophecies. They're just unmet needs speaking when everything else is quiet. Being alone right now doesn't mean you'll always be alone, and being unchosen so far doesn't mean you're unchoosable. It just means you haven't been met yet. There's a difference. You're not behind, you're not forgotten, you're not running out of time. You're just in the part of the story where love hasn't arrived, not the part where it never does. The hardest balance is holding hope without turning it into self-doubt, because when you hope for something for a long time, it can start to feel personal when it hasn't arrived yet. You tell yourself you're patient, but underneath that, there's a quiet fear that maybe hope is just another way of setting yourself up, so you try to numb it. You tell yourself you don't need love, you act like you're fine on your own, but hope doesn't disappear that way. It just goes quiet and waits for the night. The truth is, hope isn't the problem. Hope only hurts when you turn it inward and use it as proof that something is wrong with you. You're allowed to hope without questioning your worth. You're allowed to want love without it meaning you're lacking. Hope isn't weakness. It's just your heart still believing in a future you haven't reached yet. When love hasn't found you yet, it can make you feel invisible. You're moving through life unnoticed, unchosen, easy to pass by. But invisibility isn't the truth. It's just what loneliness whispers when it's tired of waiting. You don't get overlooked because you lack something. You get overlooked because connection isn't something you can force into timing. The right person doesn't miss you because they're better at noticing. They find you because they're looking for what you already are. And until then, you're not invisible. You're just living in the space before recognition. That space feels quiet. It feels long. It feels unfair. But it isn't empty. It's shaping you into someone who will recognize real love when it finally arrives. Not because you're desperate for it, but because you're ready to receive it without disappearing into it. Love usually doesn't find you when you're proving you deserve it. It finds you when you stop performing and start existing. For a long time, I thought if I was good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, someone would finally see me, so I overgave, overthought, over-explained. But love doesn't arrive as a reward for endurance. It arrives when you're no longer shrinking to be easier to choose. The moment you stop asking, what do I need to fix? And start asking, what do I need to feel safe? Something shifts. You don't chase connection anymore, you allow it, and that doesn't make love come faster, and it makes it come healthier. Because the love that finds you then isn't choosing you because you tried hard enough. It's choosing you because you're finally standing still as yourself. Waiting is hard because it's empty time. Not empty in life, but empty in connection. You're still living, still growing, still doing everything you're supposed to do, but there's no one to share the quiet with, and that's where loneliness sneaks in. The difference between waiting and loneliness is what you tell yourself while you're there. Loneliness says, nothing is happening because I'm not enough. Waiting says, something hasn't arrived yet, and that's not a reflection of my worth. Learning to sit in the waiting doesn't mean pretending you don't want love. It means refusing to let the absence of it turn into self-blame. You can want love deeply and still treat yourself gently in the meantime. You can feel the quiet without letting it convince you that this is all there will ever be, because waiting isn't where your story ends. It's just the space between who you've been and who you're about to meet. There's a moment when hope stops hurting, not because love arrived, but because you stop fighting yourself while waiting. You stop asking the question every night with fear in it. You still want love, you still imagine it, but it no longer feels like your life is on hold without it. Hope becomes something gentle, something you carry, not something that weighs you down. You realize love finding you was never about being chosen faster or proving you're worthy enough. It was about becoming someone who doesn't disappear while waiting to be seen. And when that shift happens, loneliness loosens its grip, not because you're no longer alone, but because you're no longer against yourself. That's when hope becomes safe again, and that's usually right before love finally knows where to find you. Some nights you still wish someone was there, and that doesn't mean the healing didn't work. It just means you're human. Missing connection isn't a setback. It's not proof you're regressing or going backward. It's just your heart remembering what it wants to share. The difference now is that the wanting doesn't hurt the same. It doesn't spiral. It doesn't turn into panic. It doesn't make you question your worth. It just exists. You can want love without feeling empty without it. You can imagine closeness without feeling broken when it's not there yet. And that's growth. Because you're no longer waiting with desperation. You're waiting with trust. Trust that love doesn't miss people who are becoming more themselves. It finds them when they're steady enough to receive it without disappearing. The love that finds you after this season feels different, not louder, not dramatic, safer. It doesn't make you question yourself. It doesn't make you wonder where you stand. It doesn't ask you to stay up at night holding space for uncertainty. It meets you where you are. And because you've spent time alone, because you've learned how to sit with yourself, you don't cling to it, you appreciate it, you don't lose yourself in it because you know what it feels like to hold yourself first. That's why this waiting was never a punishment, it was preparation, not to make you stronger in a hard way, but steadier in a soft one. So if you're still alone right now, still asking if love will ever find you, it will. And when it does, you'll understand why it couldn't find you earlier. You weren't meant to be met when you were questioning your worth. You were meant to be met when you finally believed you were already enough. If you're asking that question right now, it doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're honest. You're honest about wanting connection, about feeling alone sometimes, about hoping there's more than just nights where you hug a pillow and imagine what could be. And that honesty matters. Love doesn't find people who gave up on it. It finds people who stayed open even when it hurt. People who learned how to be alone without becoming bitter, who waited without turning against themselves. So no, love didn't miss you. It just hasn't arrived yet. And when it does, it won't feel like something you chased or finally earned. It'll feel like something that recognizes you, like it knew where you were the whole time, and suddenly those nights won't feel so heavy anymore. Not because you forgot them, but because they led you right where you were meant to be. One day you won't ask the question anymore, not because love arrived overnight, but because you stopped measuring your life by what's missing. You'll still want connection, you'll still imagine it sometimes, but it won't feel heavy. You'll realize you didn't waste these nights. You were learning how to stay gentle in a quiet season, and that matters because the love that eventually finds you won't have to convince you that you're worth choosing. You'll already know. And when someone finally holds you, it won't feel like something you waited forever for. It'll feel like something that arrived right when you were ready to be seen, not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as someone whole. Being the introvert in the relationship means loving someone who lives louder than you do. They talk easily, they fill rooms, they connect fast, and you listen, you observe. You need quiet to recharge after loving hard. Sometimes it feels like you're standing next to someone who shines effortlessly while you glow quietly. They want to go out, you want to stay in. They gain energy from people, you lose it even when you're happy. And the hardest part is not the difference. It's wondering if your quiet way of loving is enough. Because you don't always say everything, you don't always show excitement loudly, but when you choose someone, you choose them deeply. Being the introvert doesn't mean you love less. It means you love in a way that's calm, steady, and intentional, and sometimes that gets misunderstood. Being with an extrovert means watching them move through the world with ease. They make friends everywhere, they're invited everywhere, people are drawn to them naturally, and sometimes, standing next to that, you wonder where you fit, not because they make you feel small, but because you don't take up space the same way. They thrive in crowds, you count the minutes until you can recharge, they talk things out loud, you process everything internally first, and there are moments where you feel guilty for needing quiet after a long day of loving them. You worry that asking for space sounds like distance, that needing alone time sounds like disinterest, but the truth is, your silence isn't absence. It's how you stay present without burning out. Loving loudly isn't the only way to love deeply, and being quieter doesn't mean you're less committed. It just means your love lives in steadiness, not spotlight. The unspoken fear is that one day you won't be enough, that they'll want more noise, more people, more energy than you can give. You worry they'll mistake your calm for boredom, your need for quiet for distance. You love them deeply but not loudly, and sometimes you wonder if that difference will matter too much. You don't compete for attention, you don't need constant stimulation, you just want connection that feels safe and real. The fear isn't that they'll leave, it's that they'll outgrow you without realizing you were loving them in the only way that feels honest to you. But loving quietly doesn't mean loving less, it means choosing them without the performance. It means staying without needing the room to notice. The right partner won't need you to be louder, they'll need you to be you. Introverts love deeply in ways that aren't always obvious. You remember details, you notice shifts in mood, you feel things before they're said. While they're talking to the room, you're paying attention to them. You're the one who listens after the party ends, the one who creates calm when everything feels loud, the one who offers presence instead of constant stimulation. Your love shows up in consistency, not volume, in choosing the same person again and again, even when it's quiet, even when no one's watching. And often your extroverted partner doesn't realize how much they need that until life gets overwhelming, until they're tired, until the noise fades, until they need someone who knows how to stay still with them. That's when your kind of love becomes the anchor. Not flashy, not loud, just steady. Introverts and extroverts can work beautifully together, but only when both ways of loving are respected. You don't need to become louder to be enough for them, and they don't need to become quieter to be right for you. What matters is understanding that your need for space isn't rejection, that their need for people isn't avoidance. You recharge differently, but you can still meet in the middle. When an extrovert learns that quiet isn't distance, and an introvert learns that excitement isn't chaos, something soft happens. You stop trying to fix each other, you start protecting each other, you give them grounding, they give you expansion, and suddenly, the difference that once felt like a risk becomes the balance that makes the relationship work. Asking for space doesn't mean you love them less. It means you know yourself. Introverts don't pull away to create distance, they pull away to come back whole, but asking for that space can feel heavy. You worry it sounds like rejection. You worry they'll take it personally. You worry needing time alone makes you difficult to love. The right partner won't hear, "I need space," as "I don't want you." They'll hear it as, "I'm taking care of myself so I can show up better." You don't need to apologize for how you recharge. You don't need to explain it every time. Love doesn't require constant closeness to be real. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for a relationship is step back for a moment, not to disconnect, but to return as yourself. Introverts show love in quiet, steady ways. You remember the little things they forget they mentioned. You notice when their mood shifts before they say anything. You check in without being asked. Your love isn't loud. It's consistent. It's making space for them after a long day. It's choosing them in calm moments, not just exciting ones. It's staying present when things slow down. Sometimes you wish they could see it more clearly. Not because you need praise, but because your love doesn't always announce itself. But the right partner will feel it. They'll feel it in how safe they are with you, and how calm things get around you, and how you stay, even when nothing exciting is happening. Quiet love isn't invisible. it's just not performing. And the people who value depth will always recognize it. It's easy to compare yourself to an extroverted partner, to wonder why you don't light up rooms, why you don't want constant plans, why loving quietly feels like a disadvantage. But your quiet nature isn't something to fix, it's something that brings balance. You offer depth in a world of noise, you offer presence in a world of distraction, you offer steadiness when everything else feels fast. You don't compete for attention, you create connection. And when you stop comparing, something shifts. You stop shrinking next to their energy, you stop questioning your value, you stop feeling like you need to match them to be worthy of love. You realize your calm isn't less than their excitement. It's what gives the relationship somewhere to rest. And the right partner won't ask you to be louder, they'll thank you for being grounding. One of the quiet fears is being replaced by louder energy, by someone more outgoing, more exciting, more effortless in social spaces. You worry that your calm won't be enough forever. But the truth is, people don't stay for volume. They stay for how they feel when everything slows down. An extroverted partner may enjoy attention, but they rest in safety. They recharge in understanding. They stay where they feel accepted without having to perform, and that's where you shine. You offer a place where they don't have to impress anyone, where they can be tired, where they can be real. Loud energy is easy to find, steady presence is not, and the partner who truly values you won't look for replacement. They'll recognize that your quiet way of loving is exactly what makes the relationship feel secure. Being the introvert was never a disadvantage. It just doesn't announce itself. Your love lasts because it isn't fueled by excitement alone. It's built on presence, on listening, on staying when things are quiet and ordinary. You don't love for the room, you love for the person. And that kind of love doesn't fade when the noise does. The right partner won't ask you to be louder, faster, or different. They'll appreciate that with you. Love feels steady instead of overwhelming, safe instead of performative. So if you've ever felt like your quiet nature made you harder to love, it didn't. It made you the place someone can finally rest. And that's not less, that's rare. Loving quietly doesn't mean loving halfway. It means you choose depth over display. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to be the most meaningful presence in someone's life. The right partner won't measure love by energy levels. They'll feel it in consistency, in safety, in how calm it feels to be with you. And one day you'll realize something simple. Your quiet wasn't something they had to tolerate. It was the reason they felt at home. We all know that one friend who's genuinely a good guy. Not the fake nice kind. Not the kind that's only good when it benefits him. I mean the real kind. The one who listens more than he talks. The one who checks in just because. The one who walks her home, texts, "Let me know when you get there," and actually waits for the reply. Not for points, not for validation. Just because that's who he is. He shows up when people call. He remembers small details. He gives effort without keeping score. And somehow, he's always the one that gets hurt. Girls say they want a good guy. They say they're tired of games, tired of being treated wrong. But when a good guy actually shows up, he gets pushed to the side, kept around just in case, treated like an option instead of a choice. He gets left on red, gets mixed signals, gets told, "You're amazing, just not right now." And then one day, he watches her choose someone who won't even do half of what he did. And the worst part? He doesn't complain about it, he jokes it off, acts like it doesn't bother him, plays it cool. But if you're paying attention, you see the change. He laughs less, questions himself more, starts wondering if being genuine is the problem. If caring too much makes him weak, if being a good guy even matters anymore, so he hardens a little, pulls back, stops giving as freely, not because he wants to be cold, but because the world keeps teaching him that softness gets punished. It reminds me of Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Gentle, compassionate, kind even to people who don't deserve it. People mistake that kindness for weakness until they realize how much strength it actually takes to stay good in a cruel world. That's the truth people forget. Real strength isn't loud. It doesn't dominate. It doesn't need to prove itself. Real strength is staying kind when life gives you every reason not to be. So if you know a guy like that, be there for him. Remind him that his heart isn't a flaw, that being good isn't something he needs to outgrow, because one day someone is going to see him, really see him, and they won't make him pay for the damage done by people who couldn't handle his heart. And when that happens, being a good guy will finally feel worth it. What people don't realize is how early Slowly, the good guy starts changing himself without even noticing. At first, it's small. He replies a little slower. He stops double texting. He thinks twice before doing something thoughtful because he's scared it'll be taken the wrong way, not appreciated, or worse, ignored. He starts asking himself questions he never used to ask. Am I doing too much? Should I care less? Why do I always end up like this? And that's dangerous because now he's learning to dull the very traits that made him special. The world doesn't break good guys all at once. It chips away at him slowly. Every time his effort isn't matched, every time his loyalty is taken for granted, every time he's told he's perfect but still not chosen. Eventually he starts building walls, not because he wants to play games, but because he's tired of being the only one who loses when he plays fair. He watches people who treat others poorly get rewarded with attention, love, and chances, and he wonders what he's doing wrong for choosing empathy instead of ego. But here's what nobody tells him. Being a good guy isn't about what you receive immediately, it's about who you become long-term. Patience he has, the emotional awareness, the ability to love deeply without needing control. Those qualities don't disappear just because they've been overlooked. They mature, and when the right person finally comes along, those same traits won't feel like a burden. They'll feel like safety, like home, like something rare in a world full of half-effort and emotional detachment. The good guy doesn't lose. He just waits longer for the right win. There's also something else the good guy carries that no one talks about. Guilt for feeling angry when he's treated unfairly, guilt for wanting to pull away, guilt for even questioning whether being kind is worth it anymore, because deep down he doesn't want to become someone he wouldn't recognize. So instead of expressing that frustration, he swallows it. He tells himself to be patient, to be understanding, to give people the benefit of the doubt, even when they've shown him who they are multiple times. And that self-control, that restraint, it takes more strength than most people will ever realize, but it comes at a cost. He starts to feel invisible, like his effort only matters when it's convenient for someone else, like his loyalty is expected, not appreciated, and the scariest part isn't that people take advantage of him, it's that he starts expecting it. That's when the good guy begins to question his worth, not in a dramatic way, quietly, internally. He wonders if he needs to be colder to be respected, louder to be noticed, less caring to be chosen. And even though he doesn't like those thoughts, they creep in anyway. But here's the truth he needs to hear. The world doesn't need more detached people pretending they don't care. It needs more people who choose kindness, even when it's inconvenient. More people who know how to love without manipulation. More people who stay solid when everything around them feels fake. The good guy isn't weak for feeling deeply. He's strong for not letting pain turn him into something he's not. And one day that integrity will matter more than all the times he was overlooked. At some point, the good guy has to learn a hard lesson. Being kind doesn't mean being available to everyone. Being loyal doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. And having a good heart doesn't mean you owe it to people who keep proving they don't know how to handle it. This is usually the stage where he starts choosing himself. Not in a selfish way, not in a bitter way, but in a quiet, self-respecting way. He stops chasing people who only reach out when it's convenient. He stops over-explaining his intentions. He stops proving that he's different. Because the truth is, the right people don't need convincing. The good guy learns that boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't block love, they block misuse. And once he understands that, everything changes. He becomes more selective with his energy, more intentional with who gets access to him. He still cares deeply, but now it's earned. This is where his strength really shows. He doesn't become cruel, he doesn't become cold, he just becomes aware. He learns that love shouldn't feel like constantly waiting your turn, that effort shouldn't feel one-sided, that if someone truly values you, they won't make you question where you stand. And when he finally meets someone who matches his energy, who sees his kindness as safety instead of weakness, it clicks. All the waiting, all the hurt, all the doubt, it suddenly makes sense. because the good guy wasn't wrong for being good. He was just giving his heart to the wrong people. There's a moment where the good guy finally realized something important. He was never meant to be understood by everyone. His way of loving was never designed for people who thrive on attention, chaos, or options. It was meant for someone who values depth, consistency, and intention. And once that clicks, he stops feeling ashamed of who he is. He understands now that not everyone deserves access to his softness, that some people only know how to take, not receive. And that doesn't make him naive, it makes him discerning. He doesn't need to change his heart, he just needs to protect it better. The good guy learns how to walk away without guilt, not because he stopped caring, but because he started caring about himself too. He learns that choosing peace over potential isn't giving up, it's growth. That silence is sometimes the loudest form of self-respect, and slowly something shifts. He speaks clearer, stops apologizing for having standards. He no longer wonders if being a good guy is worth it. He knows it is, because even if the world tried to harden him, it didn't succeed. He stayed true, and that integrity, that's something no one can take from him. One day, someone will meet him where he is. They won't question his intention, they won't test his loyalty, they won't confuse kindness for weakness. They'll recognize it immediately, and they'll protect it the same way he does. Until then, the good guy keeps moving forward, not bitter, not broken, just wiser. And when that day comes, it won't feel dramatic. It won't feel like a movie moment where everything suddenly makes sense all at once. It'll feel calm, familiar, almost quiet, because the right person won't make the good guy question himself. They won't make him wonder if he's doing too much or not enough. They won't make him feel like he has to shrink his heart to be accepted. They'll meet him where he stands. They'll appreciate the way he listens, the way he shows up, the way he loves without keeping score. And for the first time, he won't feel like his kindness is a liability. It'll feel like a gift, something mutual, something protected, something finally returned. The good guy won't have to explain himself anymore. He won't have to prove that his intentions are real. He won't have to play it cool or pretend he doesn't care. He'll be allowed to be exactly who he is, and that'll be enough. Until then, the journey matters. Every disappointment taught him boundaries. Every heartbreak taught him discernment. Every moment of doubt sharpened his sense of self. He didn't lose those years being overlooked. He was being prepared to recognize real love when it shows up, prepared to walk away from anything that feels half-hearted, prepared to protect his heart without hardening. So if you're that good guy reading this, don't change. Don't let the world convince you that you need to become colder to survive. Stay solid, stay honest, stay kind. Just be selective with who gets that version of you. Because the world doesn't need fewer good guys. It needs people brave enough to stay good even when it's easier not to. What people never see is how much discipline it takes for the good guy to stay the way he is. Every bad experience tempts him to harden up. Every time he's overlooked, replaced, or taken for granted, there's a voice in his head telling him to stop caring so much, to move differently, to love less, to become like everyone else. But he doesn't. Not because it's easy, but because he knows who he is. He understands now that changing his character to fit a broken system would only cost him himself, and losing yourself just to be chosen by the wrong people is a price that's too high. So instead of becoming colder, he becomes more intentional. Instead of closing his heart, he narrows the door. He learns that being good doesn't mean being accessible to everyone. It means being principled. It means having the strength to say no, to walk away, to choose solitude over disrespect. And that kind of self-control, that's rare. The good guy also learns to forgive, not to excuse what hurt him, but to free himself from carrying resentment. He doesn't want bitterness living rent-free in his heart. He wants peace, growth, clarity, and forgiveness is part of that process. And one day, when someone finally meets him with the same depth, the same consistency, the same effort, he'll recognize it immediately. Not because it feels intense, but because it feels familiar. Until then, he keeps building, keeps healing, keeps choosing integrity over impulse, because the good guy isn't waiting to be saved. He's becoming someone worth meeting. In the end, the good guy doesn't get a dramatic apology from everyone who hurt him. He doesn't get closure from every situation that left scars. And he doesn't get a moment where the world suddenly admits it was wrong for overlooking him. What he gets is something quiet and far more powerful. He gets peace. Peace in knowing he never had to become someone else to survive. Peace in knowing his heart stayed intact even after everything. Peace in knowing he loved honestly in a world that often rewards the opposite. He looks back and realizes that every time he was ignored, every time he was treated like an option, every time he was underestimated, it wasn't a reflection of his root. It was a reflection of who couldn't meet him where he stood. And that understanding changes everything, because now he doesn't crave validation. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't beg to be chosen. He knows who he is. And when love finally finds him, the kind that's mutual, intentional, and steady, it won't feel like winning. It'll feel like alignment, like finally being understood without having to explain yourself, like being valued without having to prove. Until then, the good guy keeps walking forward, not bitter, not resentful, not hard, just grounded. And that's the kind of strength no one can take. No isn't the worst thing a girl can say, but the worst thing a girl could do is to pretend to like you or love you, get you attached, treat you like her boyfriend, and tell you she's not ready for a relationship. Shawty just played you like she's playing Animal Crossing. If there was an Olympic sport for getting played, best believe you would have gotten a gold or bronze medal. Y'all didn't even get past the talking stage. She dragged it out like this was 13 reasons why. If this was me, finding her would be as easy as trying to find the one piece. This type of disrespect is something you can't tolerate. The woman species now makes your blood boil. Talking to girls romantically is something you don't even want to hear about. This is the type of pain and heartbreak that will have you up at 3 a.m. doing 3 sets of 20 push-ups while thinking of ways to change your life around. This is the type of pain that makes you want to get rich and conquer the world. After this type of foolery, she might have turned you nonchalant. Now every girl you meet after her suffers. It's like she broke the way you loved and trusted. This is honestly most of us guys' lore. A lot of us aren't born nonchalant. It's usually someone who makes us feel that we need to be this way to protect ourselves from the way we were once hurt. This is why I always say don't give away your love and your heart too soon. Then it could all be a game of poker, and these girls are waiting for you to show your hand so they can crush you and take you for everything you have. After that kind of situation, you don't just move on like nothing happened. People act like you can just charge it to the game, but that game took something from you. It took the version of you that believed words matched actions. It took the version of you that assumed consistency meant interest, that effort meant intention. And once that's gone, it doesn't come back easily. You start noticing the shift in yourself. You don't text first as much anymore. You hesitate before opening up. Compliments feel suspicious. Affection feels temporary. You're no longer asking, do I like her? You're asking, is this even real? And that question follows you into every new connection, even with people who haven't done anything wrong. That's the unfair part. One person plays with your feelings, and suddenly everyone after them has to deal with the damage. You become guarded, distant, almost emotionally lazy, not because you don't care, but because caring once cost you too much. You learn that giving your heart too early can turn into a lesson you never asked for. And late at night, that's when it really hits. When the distractions are gone, when you're alone with your thoughts, that's when the anger shows up, not just at her, but at yourself, for ignoring the red flags, for believing potential instead of patterns, for staying when deep down something felt off. That anger fuels change, but it can also harden you if you're not careful. A lot of guys turn that pain into motivation. Gym sessions at ungodly hours, obsessing over goals, wanting to level up in every area of life. And while growth is good, it's important to recognize where it's coming from. Are you improving because you want more for yourself? Because you're trying to prove you were worth choosing? That experience becomes part of your story, your lore, not to victimize you, but to explain why you move the way you do now, why you don't fall as fast, why you keep your guard up, why you test people before trusting them. You weren't born this way. Someone taught you to protect yourself, and the real lesson isn't to stop loving. It's to stop giving your heart to people who haven't earned access to it yet. What really messes with you is realizing she probably didn't think it was that deep. To her, it was just talking, just vibes, just something to pass the time. But to you, it was hope. It was imagination. It was planning things in your head you never even said out loud. And that imbalance is where the damage happens. One person is casually passing time, the other is slowly building attachment. You replay moments looking for answers. The good mornings, the late replies that still felt warm, the way she acted like she cared without ever committing to it, and you start asking yourself if you imagined it all, if you read too much into things, if you're the problem for feeling deeply in a world where people stay shallow on purpose. That's when trust starts cracking, not just trust in others, but trust in yourself. You stop believing your intuition because last time it led you straight into disappointment. So now you second guess everything. Is she flirting or just being nice? Does she actually like me or just like the attention? You become hyper aware, constantly scanning for signs that history is about to repeat itself. And the worst part is how it rewires your expectations. You go into new situations already bracing for impact, already assuming it won't last, already preparing for the moment they pull back and say they're not ready. So instead of enjoying the present, you're always waiting for the drop, always half gone even when you're still there. This is how people become emotionally unavailable without meaning to, not because they don't want love, but because love once felt like a setup, like something that was offered just to be taken away. So you start protecting yourself in quiet ways. You don't get excited too fast, you don't express how much you care. You keep things surface level until someone proves they're different. But here's the truth, nobody tells you. What happened to you wasn't weakness. It was sincerity meeting someone who didn't know what they wanted. And that doesn't mean you should stop being sincere. It just means you have to be more selective with who you give that version of yourself to. After that kind of situation, something shifts in you. You're not loud about it, you don't announce it, but you feel it in the way you move. You stop leading with your heart and start leading with caution. You don't text first as much. You don't double text. You don't let yourself get excited over potential anymore. You tell yourself it's maturity, but deep down, it's fear wearing a calmer face. You start believing that caring less is safer, that being detached is smarter, that if you never let anyone get too close, they can't pull the rug from under you again. So you keep people at arm's length, you flirt without intention, you talk without expectation, you convince yourself this is control, but really it's armor. And sometimes you miss the old you, the version of you that loved freely, that didn't overthink every reply, that didn't feel embarrassed for being excited about someone. You miss how deeply you used to feel before it backfired. You don't know how to go back without risking the same pain again. That's how one situation can bleed into every future one. You start punishing people who haven't done anything wrong yet, not intentionally but subconsciously. You assume they'll leave, assume they'll switch up, assume they'll say they're not ready once you get attached, so you stay one step ahead emotionally, just in case. And the scary part is how normalized this becomes. People praise you for being nonchalant, for not caring too much, for being unbothered. They don't see the nights you still replay things in your head. They don't see how guarded you've become. They don't see how badly you still want something real, even though you act like you don't. But here's the part you need to hear. Becoming colder isn't healing, it's surviving. And survival is not the same as growth. You didn't lose because you cared. You lost because you cared about someone who wasn't capable of matching it. One day, someone will come into your life and your walls will confuse them. They'll feel the distance, they'll wonder why you hesitate, and you'll have to decide whether you're going to keep letting the past decide how you love, or whether you're ready to risk feeling again, this time with someone who actually means it. Here's the truth nobody really prepares you for. The hardest part isn't getting played, it's what happens after, when you meet someone new who actually treats you right, and you don't know how to receive it. Their consistency feels suspicious. Their interest feels too good to be true. When they text back fast instead of feeling secure, your mind starts asking, what's the catch? Because your brain remembers patterns, remembers how attention turned into attachment, and attachment turned into disappointment. So now every good thing feels temporary. You don't relax into love anymore, you brace for impact. You're always waiting for the switch up, the moment they pull away, the moment they say they're not ready, the moment you realize you were just another phase to them. And it's exhausting, because part of you wants to love again the way you used to. Fully, honestly, without holding back. But another part of you is screaming not to, telling you that being vulnerable is dangerous, that letting someone see you is how you get hurt, so you stay halfway in, halfway out. Enough to not be alone, but not enough to be devastated again. That's why you start confusing peace with boredom. Healthy love feels quiet compared to chaos. There's no guessing games, no mixed signals, no emotional roller coaster. And because you got used to inconsistency, stability feels unfamiliar, almost wrong. You catch yourself thinking, why isn't this hurting? Why am I not anxious? And that's when you realize how much damage was done, but healing doesn't mean you'll never be cautious again. It means learning when caution is protecting you and when it's sabotaging something good. It means unlearning the belief that love has to hurt to be real. It means reminding yourself that not everyone is playing a game, even if someone once did. You're not broken for being guarded, you're human. You adapted. Don't let one person's inability to love you properly rewrite who you are at your core, because the version of you that loved deeply wasn't weak. That version was brave, and one day when it's safe again, you'll recognize that feeling, and you'll know it's finally real. What nobody tells you is that after being hurt like that, you don't become heartless overnight. You become careful. You start analyzing everything, tone, timing, energy. You replay conversations in your head, not because you're obsessed, but because you're trying to protect yourself from ever feeling that stupid again. You promise yourself you'll never miss the signs next time. So when someone new comes around, you don't jump in. You test the waters. You pull back just to see if they'll step forward. You stop texting first, not because you don't care, but because you're scared of caring more again. You don't want to be the only one invested. You don't want to be the one waiting ever again. And sometimes that defense mechanism costs you something real. The person in front of you isn't the one who hurt you. They're not playing games. They're not keeping you around for attention. They're just trying to get to know you, but your heart doesn't know the difference yet. It's still in survival mode. You might even catch yourself pushing them away emotionally, acting distant, acting unbothered, acting like you don't care as much as you actually do, because caring openly once led to pain, and you don't want to relive that lesson. You tell yourself you're just being smart now, more mature, more controlled. Deep down, there's a part of you that misses loving without fear, and that's the conflict. You want connection, but you don't want to bleed for it. You want intimacy, but only if it doesn't cost you your peace. So you move slow, you keep walls up, you tell yourself if it's meant to be, they'll stay. And if they leave, at least you didn't give them everything. Just know this. Healing isn't about rushing back into who you were before. It's about choosing who you want to be now. Someone wiser, someone more aware, but still open, still capable of real love. Because the goal was never to become cold, it was to stop giving your warmth to people who couldn't handle it. Here's the truth. Most people never say out loud. Becoming guarded doesn't mean you lost your ability to love. It means you finally learned your worth. There's a difference. You didn't harden because you're bitter. You hardened because you had to survive something that broke you when you were genuine. You remember how freely you used to give, how you didn't hesitate, how you showed up with your whole chest. No hesitation, no backup plan. You didn't measure effort. You didn't keep score. You just loved. And when that got taken advantage of, it didn't just hurt your heart. It shook your identity. It made you question if being that open was a mistake. So now you hesitate. You don't open up right away. You don't trauma dump. You don't promise things too early. You don't let people know how deeply you feel until they've proven they're safe. And that's not weakness. That's discernment. That's growth. But sometimes people misunderstand that version of you. They call you distant, nonchalant, emotionless. They don't see the emotional discipline it took to become this way. They don't see the nights you had to teach yourself how to let go, how to sit with silence, how to stop chasing explanations that were never coming. And yeah, it gets lonely sometimes because not everyone has the patience to get past your walls. Not everyone understands that consistency matters more to you now than words. That effort means more than promises. That actions are the only language you really trust. The right person won't rush you. They won't demand access to parts of you they haven't earned. They won't punish you for protecting yourself. They'll understand that loving you means moving at your pace, showing up even when you don't ask, being steady when you're cautious. You're not broken. You're recalibrated. You didn't lose your softness. You just learned to aim it better. And one day, when someone proves they can handle your heart without hurting it, you'll feel it, because you'll want to open up again. Not out of fear of losing them, but because it finally feels safe to stay. What people don't realize is that the walls you built weren't meant to keep love out. They were meant to keep the wrong people from walking in and wrecking everything again. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be distant. You became distant after explaining yourself one too many times to people who never listened, after forgiving things you never should have had to forgive, after loving someone who treated your heart like something disposable. There was a version of you that believed effort would always be met halfway, that if you just loved harder, communicated better, stayed patient longer, things would work out. And when that belief collapsed, it didn't collapse quietly. It shattered because you weren't just mourning a person, you were mourning the version of yourself that thought love was always safe. So now you watch patterns, you notice energy shifts, you pay attention to how people show up when it's inconvenient, not when it's easy. You don't get attached to potential anymore. You don't romanticize promises. You wait to see if words and actions line up, and if they don't, You detach without explaining yourself the way you used to. Some people call that cold, but it's not. It's clarity. You're tired of giving the benefit of the doubt to people who already showed you who they were. You're tired of staying loyal to people who only kept you around when it benefited them. You're tired of feeling stupid for caring too much, so you stopped overextending. You stopped proving. You stopped begging to be chosen. And yeah, sometimes you miss how deeply you used to feel. Sometimes you miss how excited you got, how hopeful you were. But you also remember the crash. The nights you questioned your worth, the way your chest felt heavy for weeks, the way you blamed yourself for someone else's inability to love you properly. That's why you don't rush now. That's why you don't fall fast. That's why you protect your peace like it's sacred, because you know what it costs to rebuild yourself from emotional ruins. And the truth is, the right person won't see your caution as a flaw. They'll see it as proof that you value yourself. They'll be patient enough to earn your trust, consistent enough to soften your guard, safe enough to remind you that not everyone comes to take. You're not afraid of love, you're afraid of losing yourself again. And that fear makes sense. Here's the part nobody tells you when you go through something like that. The fact that you're guarded now doesn't mean you're broken. It means you survived, it means you learned, it means you finally stopped pouring yourself into people who treated your heart like something they could pick up and put down whenever they felt like it. You didn't lose your ability to love. You just stopped giving it to people who didn't know how to hold it. Deep down, that soft version of you still exists. The one who loves deeply, the one who shows up, the one who means what they say and stays when things get uncomfortable. You didn't kill that part of yourself. You just hid it, locked it away until someone proves they're safe enough to see it again. And that's growth, because love isn't about giving everything immediately anymore. It's about watching how someone treats your time, your effort, your vulnerability. It's about noticing if they stay consistent when there's nothing to gain, if they choose you when it's inconvenient, if they respect your boundaries instead of testing how far they can push them. You're not asking for perfection now. You're asking for honesty, for effort that doesn't disappear, for reassurance that doesn't feel forced, for a connection that doesn't make you feel anxious, confused, or small. And the right person won't make you feel like you have to guard yourself forever. They won't rush you. They won't pressure you to open up faster than you're ready. They'll understand why you hesitate, why you question, why you move slower than before, because they won't see your past as baggage. They'll see it as context. One day, someone will come into your life, and instead of triggering your fears, they'll quiet them. Instead of making you overthink, they'll bring peace. Instead of making you feel like you have to protect yourself, they'll make you feel protected. Until then, it's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to walk away faster. It's okay to protect your heart. You're not cold. You're not heartless. You're just done bleeding for people who never planned to stay. And when love comes again, it won't break you, because this time, you know your worth. I'll be gone one day. Not in a dramatic way. Not as a threat. Not as a goodbye. Just as a fact. One day, I won't be this accessible. I won't be this available. I won't be this version of me. And sometimes I wonder, will people notice? Will they realize what I carried, what I gave, what I stayed through? Or will it only make sense when I'm not around to do it anymore? It's strange feeling invisible while you're still here. You show up, you check in, you stay consistent, you carry conversations, you give effort, you hold things together quietly, but it feels expected, like your presence is normal, like your loyalty is assumed, like your effort is just background noise. And that's when the thought creeps in. If I stopped doing this, if I pulled back, if I disappeared, would anyone feel the shift? Or do people only realize what you meant after you're no longer there to give it? Being the strong one rarely gets applauded. You're the one people vent to, the one who keeps it together, the one who doesn't break down publicly. So they assume you're fine. They assume you don't need reassurance, don't need checking in, don't need to be chosen loudly, because you've trained everyone to see you as stable. But strength can be lonely, carrying everyone else's emotions while quietly managing your own, smiling through things you never fully process. And sometimes you think, if I ever stopped being the strong one, would anyone know how to hold me? Or would they only realize what I was carrying after I put it down? There's a quiet exhaustion that comes with always being dependable. You don't cancel, you don't disappear, you don't make people question where they stand with you. You're solid. And because of that, people get comfortable. They assume you'll always answer, always show up, always understand. But no one asks how much it costs you. No one sees the days you wanted to shut down. the moments you needed someone else to take the lead. Being reliable is a beautiful trait, but when it's constant, it becomes heavy, and sometimes you think, if I ever stop carrying this role, will they notice the weight I was holding all along? What happens when the dependable one finally pulls back? At first, nothing. People assume you're just busy, just tired, just having an off day. But when the consistency shifts, when the long paragraphs turn short, when the constant availability fades, that's when they feel it. The silence hits different when it's coming from the one who never used to go quiet. And suddenly they notice what you used to do, the way you checked in first, the way you kept things from falling apart, the way you made everything feel steady. And it's not about revenge, it's not about proving a point, it's about capacity, because even the strongest ones get tired of being unheld. And when they finally step back, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, but it changes everything. Being gone doesn't always mean physically leaving. Sometimes it means emotionally detaching. Still replying, but not overextending. Still present, but not pouring the same energy. Still there, but no longer carrying what isn't yours. That shift is subtle. You don't announce it, you don't explain it, you just stop overgiving. And the people who were used to your full capacity start to feel the difference, because now you're protecting your energy instead of offering it endlessly. You're choosing peace over being needed, and sometimes that's the real goodbye, not disappearing, just deciding you deserve to be poured into too. Being gone one day might not mean disappearing. It might mean evolving, becoming a version of yourself that not everyone gets access to anymore. The version that over-explains, that overextends, that tolerates bare minimum, gone. The version that accepts crumbs just to keep the peace, gone. Growth changes your availability. You don't respond the same. You don't tolerate the same. You don't give the same unlimited access. And some people will say you changed. They'll say you're distant, different, harder to reach. But what they really mean is you stopped being endlessly accessible. And sometimes being gone is just becoming too self-aware to stay in spaces that don't value you. The right people won't lose you when you grow. They won't complain that you changed. They'll adjust with you, because real connection isn't built on convenience. It's built on understanding. When you stop overgiving, the right ones won't call you distant. They'll ask if you're okay. When you set boundaries, the right ones won't feel attacked. They'll respect them. When you evolve, the right ones won't feel threatened. They'll evolve too. Growth doesn't push away what's aligned. It only exposes what was comfortable. And if one day you're gone because you chose peace over pressure, the people meant for you won't lose access. They'll meet you at your new level. One day, being gone might just mean I finally chose myself, not selfishly, not dramatically, fully choosing peace over pressure, fully choosing growth over familiarity, fully choosing reciprocity over exhaustion, because for a long time I chose understanding, I chose patience, I chose staying, even when it drained me. But one day I'll choose alignment, and that might look like distance to people who benefited from my overgiving. It might look like silence to people who only checked in when I carried things. But to me, it'll feel like relief, because being gone isn't always about leaving others. Sometimes it's about finally not leaving yourself. I'll be gone one day, but not in a tragic way, in a transformative way. I'll be gone from the spaces that drained me, gone from the roles that confined me, gone from the version of me that overgave just to be appreciated. And the people who only valued what I provided, they'll call it distance. The people who only noticed when I carried things, they'll call it change. But the ones who truly saw me, they'll understand. Because being gone isn't disappearing, it's evolution. It's choosing peace over performance, reciprocity over exhaustion, alignment over attachment. One day I'll be gone. And it won't be because I faded. It'll be because I finally grew into a version of myself that refuses to stay where I'm not valued. And that's not a loss. That's a rebirth. I knew it wasn't going to last. Not because they said it. Not because there were red flags everywhere. but because something in me never fully relaxed. Even in the good moments, there was a quiet voice saying, "Don't get too attached." I enjoyed it. I smiled, I played my part, but deep down, I felt the expiration date, and that's the weirdest kind of heartbreak. When you see the ending while you're still in the middle, sometimes your intuition whispers long before reality confirms it. There weren't major fights, no dramatic betrayals, no obvious reason to leave, but there was inconsistency, little things, energy that shifted slightly, effort that felt uneven, words that didn't fully match actions, and instead of confronting it, I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself to relax, to just enjoy the moment, to stop looking for problems, but intuition doesn't shout. It nudges, it tightens your chest a little, it makes you hesitate before getting attached. It keeps you half guarded even when things seem fine. And I felt that, I just ignored it. Because sometimes we don't want to be right, we want to be wrong about the ending. So why did I stay if I knew? Because sometimes temporary love still feels better than loneliness. Because even if it wasn't forever, it was something. The late night conversations, the inside jokes, the way they looked at me when it was just us. I knew it had cracks, but I also knew it had moments. And I convinced myself that maybe moments were enough. Maybe I didn't need permanence. Maybe I didn't need certainty. Maybe I could just enjoy it without expecting it to stay. But that's the lie we tell ourselves. You can't emotionally invest and pretend you won't feel it when it ends. I stayed because I hoped my intuition would be wrong. I stayed because I liked them, because I wanted it to work, because walking away early felt dramatic, but sometimes staying longer just makes the goodbye heavier. There's a difference between anxiety and intuition. Anxiety is loud, it spirals, it imagines worst-case scenarios, it creates problems that don't exist yet. Intuition is quiet, it doesn't panic, it doesn't overreact, it just knows. And what I felt wasn't panic, it wasn't jealousy, it wasn't insecurity. It was a steady awareness that something wasn't aligned. I didn't feel chosen, I didn't feel secure, I didn't feel like we were building. I felt like we were passing time, and that's how you know. When the connection feels temporary, even while it's happening. Anxiety asks, what if they leave? Intuition says, they're not fully here. And deep down I knew which one it was. Knowing it won't last doesn't make it hurt less. That's the part nobody tells you. You'd think being mentally prepared would soften the blow. It doesn't, because even if your mind saw the ending, your heart still participated. You still laughed, still opened up, still imagined what if. And when it finally ends, there's no satisfaction in being right. There's no relief in saying, I knew it. There's just grief. Grief for the version of it you hope might surprise you. Grief for the effort you still gave even while doubting. Grief for the potential that never turned into permanence. Knowing doesn't protect you, it just makes you feel like you watched crash in slow motion. And sometimes that's worse. Should I have walked away sooner? Maybe. But it's easy to say that now. When you're in it, you don't see it as wasting time. You see it as giving it a chance. You tell yourself, maybe it just needs more time. Maybe they're just figuring things out. Maybe I'm overthinking. Because walking away early feels extreme. It feels impatient. It feels like you're not fighting hard enough, but sometimes staying longer isn't loyalty. It's fear. Fear of starting over. Fear of being alone again. Fear that this might be the closest thing to love you'll get for a while. So you stay. Not because it's right, but because it's comfortable enough. And when it finally ends, you don't just grieve them. You grieve the time you knew better, but here's the thing. You didn't stay because you're weak, you stayed because you hoped, and hope isn't something to be ashamed of. Next time I'll trust it, that quiet feeling, that subtle hesitation, that inner voice that doesn't panic, it just knows. Because ignoring it didn't protect me, it just delayed the inevitable. Next time, I won't wait for proof, I won't wait for the obvious red flag, I won't wait for the dramatic ending. I won't wait until I'm already attached. If something feels temporary, I'll ask why. If something feels uneven, I won't convince myself it's balanced. If someone feels half in, I won't invest fully. Not from a place of fear, from a place of alignment. because intuition isn't there to ruin good things, it's there to protect you from forcing the wrong ones. And maybe I needed this ending to finally respect my own instincts. Not every connection is meant to last. Some are meant to wake you up to your patterns, to your boundaries, to the things you tolerate when you're lonely. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be forever. Maybe it was supposed to show you what half effort feels like so you'd stop accepting it. Maybe it was supposed to teach you that chemistry isn't compatibility, that attention isn't intention, that potential isn't commitment. Sometimes we meet people who aren't meant to stay. They're meant to reveal. Reveal where you overgive, where you ignore yourself, where you settle for almost, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So maybe it didn't last because it wasn't designed to build, it was designed to redirect. Endings don't always mean failure, sometimes they mean clarity. We think if something doesn't last forever, it wasn't real, but that's not true. It was real, the feelings were real, the moments were real, it just wasn't permanent. And permanence isn't the only measure of value. Some connections exist to shift you, to sharpen your awareness, to strengthen your boundaries, to remind you what you need and what you'll never accept again. It didn't fail, it finished, and there's a difference. Failure feels like you did something wrong. Finish feels like it served its purpose, and maybe that's what this was. Not a waste, not a mistake, just a chapter that reached its natural end. I used to think knowing it wouldn't last was a weakness, like I was pessimistic, like I was sabotaging it, like I couldn't just enjoy something good. But now I see it differently. That feeling was awareness. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't overthinking, I wasn't insecure. I was aligned enough with myself to recognize misalignment, and that's power. Because next time I won't silence it, I won't stay longer than I should just to prove I can make something work. I won't ignore the quiet voice just because the moments feel nice. Knowing it wouldn't last didn't mean I didn't care, it meant I could see clearly. And clarity is growth, so no, it didn't last, but I did. I walked away more aware, more grounded, more in tune with myself, and next time, if it's meant to last, I won't have to convince myself of it. I'll feel that too. I miss who I was before her. Not because I don't believe in growth, not because I regret loving her, but because somewhere in the middle of trying to keep us together, I started losing pieces of myself. Before her, I was lighter. I didn't overthink texts. I didn't reread conversations searching for hidden meaning. I didn't question whether I was too much or not enough in the same breath. I moved through life steady, confident in who I was, comfortable in my own routine, secure in my own energy, and then I fell in love. And love is beautiful, but it also exposes you. It exposes your insecurities, your attachment style, your fear of loss. At first, it felt like growth. I was learning to compromise, learning to communicate better, learning to open up emotionally in ways I hadn't before. But slowly, something shifted. I stopped asking what felt right for me and started asking what would keep her happy. I stopped protecting my peace and started protecting the relationship. And there's a difference, because when you constantly adjust to avoid conflict, you don't even realize you're shrinking. You think you're being mature, you think you're being understanding, but sometimes you're just slowly abandoning yourself, and that's what hurts the most. Not that it ended, but that by the time it did, I didn't feel like the same person anymore. Before her, I didn't measure my worth through someone else's mood. If someone was distant, I assumed they needed space, not that I had done something wrong. If someone disagreed with me, I didn't internalize it as rejection, but with her, every shift felt personal, every silence felt loaded, every small argument felt like it could turn into something bigger, and instead of staying grounded, I started adapting, talking softer, holding back opinions, choosing peace over honesty, not because I was scared of her, but because I was scared of losing her. And when you start operating from fear instead of authenticity, you begin to change subtly. You become more careful than confident, more reactive than relaxed, more focused on maintaining connection than maintaining identity. I remember catching myself one day thinking, I wouldn't have reacted like this before. And that realization hit, because love shouldn't erase you. It should expand you, but I wasn't expanding, I was adjusting constantly, and the version of me that used to move freely was slowly becoming calculated, and I miss that freedom. I miss my peace, the kind of peace where I didn't wake up wondering how the day would feel emotionally, the kind where my phone didn't control my mood, the kind where silence wasn't threatening. Before her, I enjoyed my solitude. After her, I feared it, because I had trained myself to associate connection with validation. If we were good, I felt secure. If we were off, I felt unsettled, and that emotional dependency crept in quietly. I didn't notice it happening. I just noticed that when things ended, I felt empty in a way I hadn't before, not just because she was gone, but because I had built so much of my emotional rhythm around her. And that's when I realized I wasn't just grieving her, I was grieving myself, the version of me who didn't need reassurance to feel stable, the version of me who didn't overanalyze tone, the version of me who didn't question his value after every disagreement. That version felt strong, grounded, unshakable, and I want him back. I miss my boundaries. Before her, I knew what I tolerated and what I didn't. I didn't chase inconsistent energy. I didn't excuse disrespect. I didn't overextend myself for someone who wasn't meeting me halfway. But when you love someone, you justify things you normally wouldn't. You call red flags rough patches. You call inconsistency stress. You call emotional distance needing space. And sometimes those things are true, but sometimes they're excuses. And I made a lot of excuses, not because I was blind, but because I was invested. An investment makes you patient, sometimes too patient. By the end, I was tolerating things that the old version of me would have walked away from immediately, and that realization stings because it means I compromised more than I should have. Not just for the relationship, but at the expense of myself. The hardest part about missing who I was before her is admitting that I participated in my own transformation. She didn't force me to shrink. I chose to overextend. I chose to overcompensate. I chose to prioritize us over me every time there was tension. And that's a hard truth to sit with, because it would be easier to blame her entirely, but growth doesn't come from blame. It comes from ownership. I let love make me forget myself. And now that it's over, I have to rebuild the parts I neglected, not because loving her was wrong, but because losing myself in the process was. I miss my clarity. Before her, I didn't romanticize potential. If something felt off, I trusted it. If something felt unbalanced, I addressed it. But with her, I kept believing in what it could be, not just what it was. And hope is powerful. It keeps you fighting, it keeps you patient, but it can also keep you stuck. I held on to the version of us that existed in the beginning. The laughter, the effort, the mutual excitement, and I ignored the gradual shift because I didn't want to accept it, and that's when I stopped being objective. I became attached to the idea of us more than the reality of us, and that's not who I used to be. I miss how secure I felt alone. Before her, I enjoyed my independence, my routine, my hobbies, my friendships. I didn't need constant validation. I didn't need constant reassurance. But somewhere along the way, my world started revolving around her schedule, her availability, her emotional state, and I lost balance. When you give someone that much influence over your emotional state, you hand them power without realizing it. And when they leave, you feel powerless, not because you're weak, but because you attach too much of your stability to their presence, and I don't want that again. I want interdependence, not dependency. I don't regret loving her, but I regret abandoning myself while doing it. There's a difference. Love should complement you, not consume you. It should challenge you to grow, not pressure you to shrink. And I see now that the old version of me wasn't naive. He was grounded. He trusted himself. He walked away from imbalance without hesitation. And somewhere in trying to prove I could make it work, I stopped trusting my instincts. That's the part I want back, not the detachment. The discernment, maybe missing who I was before her, is actually part of becoming better than that version. because now I see my patterns. I see how easily I overextend when I care. I see how quickly I prioritize someone else's comfort over my own, and awareness is powerful. The old me was confident, but this version, he's wiser. He knows how quickly identity can blur inside love. He knows how subtle self-abandonment can be, and next time he won't lose himself trying to hold something together. I miss who I was before her, but maybe I'm not supposed to go back. Maybe I'm supposed to rebuild, stronger, more self-aware, more balanced. I don't want the version of me who never loved deeply. I want the version who loves deeply without disappearing, who commits without compromising identity, who stays loyal without neglecting himself. She changed me, but she didn't ruin me. If anything, she exposed where I needed boundaries, where I needed balance, where I needed to remember who I am outside of a relationship, and I will get back to that version, not the one before her, the one after her, but wiser, stronger, and impossible to lose again. I stayed loyal, even when it got hard, even when we were arguing more than laughing, even when my friends were telling me I deserved better, even when I felt unappreciated. I stayed, not because I didn't have options, not because I couldn't walk away, but because when I commit fully. Loyalty isn't something I switch on and off depending on how I feel that week. It's a decision, and I made it. I ignored distractions, I curved attention, I shut down conversations that crossed boundaries, not because I was scared of getting caught, but because I respected what we had. So when I found out she didn't stay loyal, it didn't just hurt, it confused me, because how do two people sit in the same relationship and value it completely differently? The part that messed with me wasn't just the betrayal, it was a realization that while I was protecting us, she was exploring her options. While I was defending her name in rooms she wasn't in, she was entertaining someone else's attention. While I was shutting down temptation quietly, she was responding to it. And that imbalance hits deeper than people realize, because loyalty isn't loud. You don't get applause for it. No one congratulates you for not cheating. It's invisible, it's internal, it's discipline. So when you find out the person you were loyal to didn't have that same discipline, it makes you feel stupid for being solid, like you overinvested, like you believed in something that wasn't mutual. I started replaying everything, was she distant because she was already talking to someone else? Were those late replies really just being busy? Was I fighting for something that was already slipping away? Because once trust cracks, your mind rewrites history. You start connecting dots that might not even be there. And that's exhausting, because loyalty is built on trust, and once trust is broken, even your memories feel unstable. I wasn't perfect, but I was faithful. And that matters, because loyalty isn't about being flawless, it's about being intentional. It's about choosing your partner even when temptation is available. It's about respecting boundaries even when no one is watching. And I did that, she didn't. What hurts the most is knowing I would have never done that to her. I wouldn't have risked what we built for a moment of validation. I wouldn't have jeopardized long-term trust for short-term attention, because I understood the weight of betrayal, and she didn't treat it like it was heavy. That's what breaks something inside you, not just the act, the carelessness, because cheating isn't always about love disappearing. Sometimes it's about discipline disappearing. And if someone lacks discipline and loyalty, they'll lack it when things get hard too. For a while I questioned myself. Was I too available, too forgiving, too trusting? Did my loyalty make me predictable? Because when you get betrayed, your brain tries to find ways to avoid feeling powerless again. But here's the truth. My loyalty wasn't weakness, it was character. And her disloyalty wasn't power, it was immaturity. There's a difference. One requires strength, the other requires impulse. People think being cheated on makes you look foolish, but the real foolishness is betraying someone who was solid. I lost someone who didn't value loyalty. She lost someone who actually lived by it. And those are two very different losses, because I can recover, I can heal, I can rebuild. But replacing someone who is genuinely loyal, that's harder than people think. I don't regret staying loyal, even knowing how it ended, because my character doesn't shift based on someone else's behavior. I don't cheat because I'm angry. I don't entertain options because I'm bored. I don't step out because things feel heavy. If I'm unhappy, I leave. I don't betray, and that standard stays with me, not for her, for me. The scary part after betrayal is this: you start wondering if loyalty is even worth it, if everyone cheats eventually, if trusting deeply just makes you vulnerable. But I refuse to let someone else's lack of integrity change mine, because loyalty isn't outdated, it's rare. And rare doesn't mean foolish, it means valuable. She didn't stay loyal, but that says nothing about my worth. It says everything about her discipline, her boundaries, her emotional maturity. Because if someone can look at loyalty and still step outside it, they were never anchored. And I don't want someone who floats when things get tested. I want someone who stands. I stayed loyal, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was tempting not to, even when I felt underappreciated, and I'll stay that way. Not because everyone deserves it, but because I deserve to be someone who lives by principle. She didn't stay loyal, and that hurt, but I'd rather be the one who was solid than the one who couldn't hold a commitment. Because loyalty doesn't make you weak, it makes you rare, and one day someone will recognize that instead of testing it. I really thought she was different, not in a cliche way, not in that she's not like other girls type of thinking. I mean, I genuinely believe she moved differently, because from the start she didn't feel like everyone else. She listened, she asked questions, she made it seem like she actually cared about what I was saying, and that's rare, especially now. So when I felt that kind of energy from her, I didn't hesitate. I opened up, I let my guard down faster than I normally would, because when you think someone is different, you stop protecting yourself the same way. You start believing this might actually be something real, and for a while, it felt like it was. The conversations were easy. Nothing felt forced. It felt like we were naturally building something without trying too hard. And that's what convinced me the most, because real connections aren't supposed to feel complicated. They're supposed to feel natural. So I leaned into it. I gave her my time, my attention, my energy, and I didn't second guess it, because in my head I wasn't just talking to someone random. I was building with someone who was different. At least that's what I thought. The more I talked to her, the more convinced I became that she wasn't like everyone else, because she didn't play games. At least it didn't feel like she did. She replied consistently. She didn't disappear randomly. She made the effort to keep conversations going. And when you've dealt with enough inconsistency before, that kind of energy stands out. It feels real, so I trusted it. I stopped overthinking things. I stopped questioning her intentions, because when someone shows you consistency, it feels like proof. Proof that they're serious, proof that they're different, proof that this might actually go somewhere. And that's when I started investing more, not just time, but emotionally. I started letting her see parts of me I don't usually show right away. The way I think, the things I've been through, the way I actually feel about certain things, because I thought she was someone who would understand it, someone who wouldn't take that lightly, and she made it seem like she didn't. She would listen, she would respond in a way that felt genuine. She made it feel like what I was saying actually mattered to her, and that's what pulled me in deeper, because attention is one thing, but understanding, that's different, or at least it's supposed to be. But what I didn't realize at the time was this: just because someone understands you doesn't mean they value you the way you think they do. That realization didn't hit me right away. At first, everything still felt real, because when someone listens to you, understands you, and responds in a way that feels genuine, it's easy to believe they care on a deeper level. And I did. I thought she saw me. Not just the surface version, but the real version. And that's not something I give out easily. The more she showed that side of herself, the more I leaned in, the more I believed this wasn't temporary. But slowly, things started shifting. Not in a dramatic way, nothing obvious, just small changes. Her replies weren't as consistent. The The energy in conversations felt a little different. The effort started feeling slightly uneven. At first I ignored it, because when you believe someone is different, you don't immediately assume they're changing. You assume something else is going on. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's stressed, maybe she just needs space. So I stayed patient. I didn't pull back. I didn't question her. I just kept showing up the same way I always did. Because in my mind, you don't give up on something real just because it feels off for a moment. But here's the thing I didn't realize yet. When someone is actually different, their consistency doesn't disappear without explanation. That's when I started noticing something I didn't want to admit. The version of her I thought was different only existed in certain moments, not consistently. Because when everything was good, she showed up fully. She was present, engaged, easy to talk to. But when something shifted, even slightly, that same energy disappeared. And that's where the confusion started, because now I wasn't just dealing with inconsistency, I was dealing with contrast. One day it felt real, the next day it felt distant. And when you've seen someone at their best, it's hard to accept their worst. So instead of questioning the connection, I started chasing the version of her I thought was real. The version that listened, the version that understood, the version that made everything feel easy. I kept telling myself, that's who she really is, and maybe sometimes it was. But here's the truth I had to face. If someone only shows up for you sometimes, that's not who they are. That's just who they are when it's convenient. And I didn't want to believe that, because admitting that meant admitting something bigger, that maybe she wasn't different. I just experienced her best moments and mistook them for her whole character. Once I accepted that the different version of her wasn't consistent, something else started becoming clear. I wasn't reacting to who she actually was. I was reacting to who I thought she was. And that's a dangerous place to be, because when you build feelings based on someone's best moments, you start ignoring their patterns. You hold on to the highs and excuse the lows. You remember how good it felt when everything clicked, and you convince yourself that version of them is the real one. So every time she pulled away, I didn't take it at face value. I told myself she'll come back to how she was. Every time the energy dropped, I didn't question it. I just stayed consistent, hoping things would reset. And sometimes they did. She would come back, the conversations would feel right again. The connection would feel easy again, and those moments would convince me all over again that she was different. But now, I understand something I didn't see back then. Those moments weren't proof of consistency, they were just temporary alignment. And temporary alignment feels real when you want something to work, but real connection doesn't come and go like that. It stays. The more I thought about it, the more I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't in a stable connection. I was in a cycle of highs and lows that kept resetting my feelings every time things felt good again, because every time she came back with that same energy, the version of her that felt easy, understanding and real, it made me forget everything that didn't make sense. It made me forget the distance, the inconsistency, the moments where I felt like I was the only one holding it together. And that's how cycles keep you stuck. They give you just enough to stay, but never enough to feel secure. And I confused that with something meaningful. I thought the fact that we could get back to that good place meant something. I thought it meant the connection was strong enough to survive anything. But now I understand something clearly. If something keeps breaking and resetting, it's not strong, it's unstable. And I was calling instability different because I didn't want to accept that it wasn't what I thought it was. At some point, I had to stop focusing on how she was in her best moments and start paying attention to how she showed up consistently, because consistency tells you the truth, not the highlights, not the good days, not the moments where everything feels perfect. Consistency. And when I looked at that honestly, the picture changed. She wasn't always there, she wasn't always present, she wasn't always giving the same energy I was, And that's when it hit me. Someone who is actually different doesn't make you feel unsure about where you stand. They don't make you question their effort. They don't make you feel like you're chasing clarity. They give you that clarity naturally, and I didn't have that. I had moments of clarity mixed with long stretches of confusion, and confusion isn't what different feels like. Once I stopped chasing the version of her I wanted, everything started making more sense, because the truth is, she didn't change. I just started seeing her clearly. She was consistent in one way. She showed up when it was easy, when the energy was good, when the conversations were light, when everything felt natural. But when things required depth, consistency, effort over time, that's when the difference showed. And that's when I had to admit something to myself. She wasn't different in the way I thought. She was just different from what I was used to at the beginning. And I held on to that version too long. For a while, that realization hurt more than anything else, because it made me feel like I misread everything, like I believed in something that wasn't actually there. But over time, I started understanding something important. I didn't imagine a connection. Those moments were real. They just weren't sustainable. And that's the difference. Something can feel real in the moment and still not be built to last. And I think that's what I experienced. Not something fake, just something temporary that I thought was permanent. So yeah, I thought she was different. And in some ways she was. She showed me a version of connection that felt real. She made it easy to open up. She made it feel like something deeper was possible. But being different at the beginning isn't the same as being consistent in the long run. And that's the lesson I had to learn, because the right person isn't just different when things are good. They're consistent when things aren't. They don't come and go. They don't leave you guessing. They don't make you question what you felt. They match it every time. So no, she wasn't the kind of different I thought she was, but now I know what real different actually looks like. And next time, I won't confuse moments for meaning. I owe you an apology. Not the kind that fixes things, not the kind that makes the pain disappear. Just the honest kind. I couldn't meet you where you stood. I didn't show up the way you deserved. I didn't give you my time, my focus, or the version of me you believed in. And I hate that, because you didn't ask for much. You just wanted consistency. You just wanted effort. You just wanted me to stay. And the truth is, I didn't walk away because I didn't care. I walked away because I cared and still felt lost. For a moment, you broke through everything I built to protect myself. The walls were down. I was open again. I remembered how to feel without fear, how to love without keeping score. I was that version of myself I thought was gone. Then reality got loud. Responsibilities piled up. Pressure from the future kept whispering that love wasn't something I had room for right now, that I needed to focus, that I needed to choose progress over emotion. Those thoughts didn't show up once, they stayed. They wore me down. I didn't know how to balance becoming who I needed to be and being who you needed at the same time, so instead of learning how, I ran. And I know saying sorry doesn't undo that. I know explanations don't heal wounds. I know intention doesn't erase impact. I hate that I taught you what love feels like when it leaves. I hate that I entered your life knowing I wasn't ready to stay. You didn't deserve confusion. You didn't deserve half effort. You didn't deserve to be left wondering if you were enough. You were. I just wasn't. And maybe one day, when timing isn't fighting us, when growth doesn't feel like a threat to connection, I'll look back and understand why it had to end like this. But for now, all I can give you is honesty, not excuses, not promises, just this truth. I didn't fail to love because you weren't right. I failed because I wasn't ready. What hurts the most is knowing I saw the damage happening in real time and still didn't know how to stop it. I felt myself pulling away while you were still reaching out. I noticed the distance growing before I ever said a word about it, and instead of communicating the fear, the confusion, the pressure I was under, I stayed quiet. I chose silence because it was easier than admitting I didn't have the capacity to love you the way you needed. I convinced myself I was protecting you by leaving, that if I walked away early it would hurt less. But that was just another lie I told myself to make it easier to go. Because walking away doesn't soften the impact. It just changes the shape of the pain. Instead of closure, it leaves questions. Instead of understanding, it leaves self-doubt. And I hate that I played a part in that for you. You probably wondered what changed. You said something wrong. If you asked for too much, if loving me was a mistake, that's the part that keeps me up at night. Because none of this was your fault. You didn't push me away, you didn't move too fast, you didn't love wrong. You loved honestly, and I wasn't prepared to receive that. I wish I could tell you that timing is just an excuse, that if you really love someone, you make it work no matter what, but the truth is messier than that. Sometimes people are still becoming who they need to be, sometimes they're carrying pressure they don't know how to put down, and sometimes they mistake love for something they need to run from instead of lean into. I didn't leave because you weren't enough. I left because I felt like I was failing at everything at once, and instead of asking for patience, I chose distance. I know apologies don't fix what's broken. I know understanding doesn't erase the hurt, but if there's one thing I hope you never forget, it's this. You didn't lose me because you loved too much. I lost you because I didn't know how to stay. There's a weight that comes with being the one who leaves. People think the person who walks away always has it easier. But that's not true. Walking away doesn't mean you stop feeling. It just means you carry the guilt quietly. You replay moments where you should have stayed, moments where you should have fought harder, moments where you almost turned around but didn't. I still think about the way you looked at me when you trusted me, the way you believed in something I wasn't brave enough to hold on to. That kind of trust stays with you. It doesn't disappear just because the relationship ended. It becomes a reminder of what you weren't ready to protect. I know from the outside it probably looks like I chose myself, like I chose my future over you, but it never felt like a clean choice. It felt like failing two things at once, losing you and losing the version of myself that finally felt understood. I didn't walk away empowered, I walked away conflicted. Some nights I wonder what would have happened if I stayed, if I tried harder to balance everything instead of running from it, if I learned how to grow with you instead of convincing myself I had to grow alone. But wondering doesn't change reality. It just reminds me that timing can ruin something real if you let fear lead the decision. I hope you never think I took your love lightly. I felt it, I just didn't know how to carry it without dropping everything else in my life. And instead of learning how, I chose the easier pain, the pain of absence instead of the pain of effort. If you ever question your worth because of how I left, please don't. The fact that I felt safe enough to open up, even briefly, says everything about you. The fact that I couldn't stay says everything about where I was, not who you are. There's something I never said out loud, and maybe I should have. Leaving didn't make things quieter in my head. It made them louder, because once you're gone, there's no distraction from the truth, no comfort of your presence, no reassurance to lean on when doubt creeps in, just you, alone, facing the consequences of the choice you made. I had to sit with the fact that I hurt someone who only wanted to love me right, that I walked away from something genuine because I was scared of not being enough in the future I was chasing. And fear has a way of disguising itself as logic. It tells you you're being responsible, when really you're just running. I told myself I'd come back when things settled down, when life felt more manageable, when I had my priorities straight, but life doesn't pause to give you a second chance at people. And by the time you realize what you lost, the door is usually already closed. What I regret most isn't just leaving. It's not explaining myself fully while I was still there. I didn't give you the clarity you deserved. I let you fill in the blanks on your own, and that's unfair. Silence leaves room for self-blame, and you never deserve to carry that. You probably questioned if the love was real, if the moments meant anything. They did, every single one. The meaning alone isn't always enough to keep two people together when one of them doesn't know how to stay grounded. I'm learning now that growth doesn't have to come at the cost of connection, that ambition and love aren't enemies, that sometimes the bravest thing isn't walking away, but learning how to hold two things at once. I just wish I learned that lesson sooner. The hardest part to accept is that some lessons only make sense after the damage is done. I didn't understand back then that love isn't something you pause and come back to later. When life is more convenient, love happens in the middle of the chaos, and the uncertainty, and the balancing act you're scared you'll fail at. And I failed because I thought I had to choose one path or the other. I thought I had to become someone first before I could love you properly. I didn't realize that loving you could have been part of becoming that person. Instead, I treated love like a distraction instead of support, like something I had to set aside instead of something that could have helped carry the weight. Now I see how unfair that was to you. You were willing to grow alongside me. You weren't asking for perfection. You were asking for presence, for effort, for honesty, and instead of trusting that, I doubted myself so much that I made the choice for both of us. There's a strange loneliness that comes with choosing growth the wrong way. You make progress, but it feels hollow. You reach milestones and realize there's no one to share them with. And that's when it hits you that success without connection can still feel empty. I don't regret wanting more out of life. I regret not knowing how to include you in that vision. I regret thinking I had to do everything alone, because strength isn't isolation. Strength is knowing when to lean on someone who's willing to stand with you. If I could say one thing without apologizing again, it would be this: don't let my fear make you afraid to love again. Don't let my timing convince you that you asked for too much. You didn't. It just wasn't ready to rise to the moment. There's a quiet regret that doesn't show up right away. It creeps in later when life slows down and you finally have time to reflect. When the noise fades and you're left alone with the truth, that regret isn't loud or dramatic, it's subtle. The realization that you let go of something real because you were afraid of not being able to handle it. I used to think walking away meant I was choosing myself. Now I understand that choosing yourself doesn't always mean leaving. Sometimes it means staying and learning how to show up better, and I didn't know how to do that back then. I thought distance would give me clarity. All it really gave me was perspective. I wish I had sooner. I see now how rare it is to find someone willing to love you while you're still figuring yourself out. Someone patient enough to stand beside you without demanding you have everything together. And I walked away from that because I didn't believe I could be both growing and loving at the same time. There are moments I want to reach out, to explain everything I didn't know how to say before, but I don't, because reopening wounds for my own peace wouldn't be fair to you. Some apologies are meant to stay unspoken, carried quietly as lessons instead of words. I hope you found someone who meets you with the same energy you gave, someone who doesn't hesitate, someone who chooses you without second guessing. And if you haven't yet, I hope you at least learned that the love you offer is rare. The way you care isn't something everyone can handle, but the right person will treasure it. As for me, I'm learning that readiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you practice, and I'm practicing now, even if it's too late for us. There's a strange kind of maturity that comes from realizing you can't undo certain things, not because you don't care enough, but because caring now would mean accepting that some doors close quietly and stay that way. And learning to respect that is part of growing up, even when it hurts. I've had to sit with the fact that love doesn't always come back around when you're finally ready. Sometimes it shows up before you know how to hold it, teaches you a lesson, and leaves. Not as punishment, but as preparation. And that's a hard truth to swallow when you realize the timing was off by just a little, but that little bit changed everything. What stays with me isn't just the regret, it's the clarity, the understanding of what I want to be different next time. I know now that I don't want to run when things get heavy. I don't want to choose distance just because I'm scared of failing. I don't want to confuse being busy with being unavailable. I don't want to leave someone guessing where they stand. You taught me that love isn't about having everything figured out. It's about choosing someone even when life is uncertain, about growing with someone instead of away from them. And even though I couldn't do that with you, that lesson is etched into me now. I hope you never look back and think you weren't enough. You were more than enough. You were just early, and sometimes early still hurts like loss. There are people we don't end up with who still change the trajectory of our lives. You were one of those people for me, and even if our story didn't continue, it mattered. It always will. This is where I finally stop apologizing and start accepting. Accepting that some connections aren't meant to be fixed, revisited, or explained away. They're meant to be learned from and released. Holding on to guilt doesn't change the past, and holding on to hope doesn't rewrite the ending. All it does is keep you stuck in a moment that already passed. I didn't lose you because love wasn't real. I lost you because timing, fear, and growth didn't align. And as painful as that is to admit, it's also freeing because it allows me to move forward without pretending I was the victim or the villain. I was just someone who didn't know how to stay yet. You don't owe me forgiveness, you don't owe me understanding, and I don't expect you to remember me kindly. All I hope is that you remember the love for what it was. Honest, real, human, even if it couldn't last. I carry this with me now. Not as regret that weighs me down, but as awareness that shapes who I become. I know how fragile connection is. I know how rare it is to find someone who sees you fully and still stays. And next time, I won't confuse love with something I need to run from. Some people are meant to be chapters, not the whole book. And even though this chapter ended before I was ready, it taught me how to write the next one with more care, wherever you are. I hope you're loved the way you tried to love me. And for the first time, I'm not saying sorry, I'm saying thank you. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you have to let them go. Not slowly, not halfway, not with one foot still stuck in the past. You have to actually let them go, because they're not coming back. Not in the way you want, not in the way you deserve. And holding on to that hope is what's keeping you stuck. That's the hardest part to accept. Not the loss itself, but the finality of it. The idea that the version of them you're waiting for doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe it never did. You keep replaying memories, rereading old messages, telling yourself that if you just wait a little longer, they'll realize what they lost. That they'll come back changed, more sure, more ready. But the truth is, if they wanted to come back, they would have already. Letting go feels like betrayal. Like you're giving up on something that once meant everything to you. It feels wrong to stop caring when you cared so deeply for so long. Your mind keeps fighting it, saying just one more day, just one more chance, just one more sign. But every extra day you hold on is another day you delay your own healing. You don't let go because you stop loving them. You let go because loving them is costing you yourself, your peace, your sleep, your confidence, your ability to be present. You've been living in a constant state of waiting for a text, waiting for clarity, waiting for closure that isn't coming, and that waiting has slowly been draining you. Here's what nobody tells you. Closure doesn't always come from a conversation. Sometimes closure is realizing that silence is the answer, that their absence is the explanation, that the confusion you feel is the clarity you've been avoiding, because someone who truly wants to be in your life won't make you question where you stand. You keep thinking that letting go means nothing good will ever replace what you lost, that you missed your chance, that this was the one. That's grief talking, not truth. Grief narrows your vision, makes the past feel bigger than the future. It convinces you that the best days are behind you, when in reality they haven't even happened yet. Letting go doesn't happen all at once. It's a series of small, painful choices. Choosing not to check their profile, choosing not to reread old messages, choosing not to fantasize about a version of them that no longer exists, choosing yourself, even when it hurts. And yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow, one of the hardest, but the sooner you swallow it, the sooner you can breathe again, the sooner your life starts moving forward instead of replaying the same chapter over and over. Good things are going to come again, I promise you that. But they can't find you if you're still emotionally living somewhere you no longer belong. Right now, it probably feels impossible to believe that anything good could come after this. When you lose someone you were attached to, your world shrinks. Your future starts looking empty, quiet, unfamiliar. You measure everything against them. Every laugh feels weaker. Every conversation feels forced. Every good moment feels incomplete because they're not there to share it with. That's normal. Your brain is grieving what could have been, not just what was. You're mourning the plans you never got to live out, the version of the future you built in your head, the comfort of having someone to lean on, and when that disappears, your mind panics. It tells you this was it. This was your chance. You won't feel like this again. But that voice isn't truth. It's fear. Fear tries to convince you that staying attached is safer than starting over, that even pain you recognize is better than uncertainty. So you cling to what's familiar even when it hurts you, even when it drains you, even when it keeps you stuck in the same emotional place you've been in for too long. Letting go feels like stepping into darkness. You don't know what's on the other side yet. You don't know who you'll become without them. You don't know how long it'll take to feel okay again, and that uncertainty is terrifying. But staying where you are guarantees one thing: nothing changes. You don't heal by holding on tighter. You heal by loosening your grip, even when every part of you wants to resist. You heal by accepting that some people are meant to be chapters, not whole stories, that some connections exist to teach you something, not to stay forever. And yeah, it hurts to admit that someone you love doesn't have a place in your life anymore. It hurts to realize that effort wasn't enough, that love alone couldn't fix timing, readiness, or their inability to choose you fully. But pain doesn't mean failure. Pain means you cared. Pain means you were real. You're not weak for struggling to let go. You're human. But don't confuse holding on with loyalty. Don't confuse waiting with strength. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something you still want because you know it's no longer good for you. You're not erasing them by letting go. You're releasing yourself. One of the most painful realizations you'll have is that letting go isn't about them at all. It's about you. It's about finally admitting that you've been living for something that no longer exists, that you've been holding space in your heart for someone who stopped holding space for you a long time ago. You tell yourself you're just being patient, that you're strong for waiting, that real love doesn't give up, but there's a difference between patience and self-abandonment. There's a difference between fighting for something and fighting yourself every single day just to survive it, and deep down, you know which one this has become. You've been stuck in this cycle of hope and disappointment. One day you feel okay, almost proud of how far you've come. The next day, a memory hits you out of nowhere and you're right back at the beginning. A song, a place, a random thought at 2 a.m., and suddenly your chest feels heavy again. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you haven't fully let go yet, because part of you is still waiting for them to validate what you felt, to admit they hurt you, to say they cared as much as you did. But here's the truth you don't want to accept yet. You may never get that. And waiting for it is only keeping you tied to someone who already moved on. Letting go means accepting unanswered questions. It means choosing peace over understanding. It means realizing that not everything broken needs to be fixed. Some things just need to be released. And that's uncomfortable because your heart wants certainty, wants meaning, it wants closure wrapped in a conversation that makes everything make sense. But sometimes closure is recognizing that someone's inability to choose you is the answer, that their silence, their distance, their inconsistency already told you everything you needed to know. You just weren't ready to hear it yet. You didn't imagine the connection. You didn't make it all up. What you felt was real. But real feelings don't guarantee a real future, and holding on to that distinction is one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn. You're not behind for struggling with this. You're not weak for missing them, but you are allowed to stop suffering for someone who isn't suffering without you. There comes a moment where you have to be honest with yourself about what you're really holding on to. Is it them, or is it the version of them you created in your head? The version that would have changed, the version that would have stayed, the version that would have finally chosen you the way you needed, because most of the time, that's what keeps you stuck. Not reality, but imagination. You fell in love with potential, with what could have been. If things were different, if timing was better, if they were more emotionally available, if they wanted the same future you did, but you can't build a life on ifs, and you can't heal while you're still negotiating with the past. Your heart keeps saying just a little longer. Your mind keeps saying maybe one more chance, but your body is exhausted, tired of carrying the weight, tired of the anxiety, tired of waking up every day with the same ache in your chest. That's your sign. Not everything that hurts is meant to be held on to. Letting go doesn't mean you pretend it didn't matter. It mattered deeply. That's why it hurts, but there's a difference between honoring what you felt and imprisoning yourself in it. You're allowed to acknowledge the love without chaining yourself to the loss. And here's something important. Moving on doesn't mean you'll forget them. You won't. Certain people leave marks on us, but those marks don't have to control where we go next. They can be reminders instead of wounds, lessons instead of anchors. Right now you're still looking backward, trying to make sense of something that already ended, but life doesn't unfold in reverse. There are people you haven't met yet, versions of yourself you haven't grown into yet, moments that will make this pain feel smaller in comparison. You just can't see them because you're still standing in the doorway of what was. Letting go is choosing to step forward even when your legs are shaking, even when you're scared of what's next, even when you don't feel ready, because staying where you are is hurting you more than leaving ever could. One of the hardest things you'll face once you start letting go is the emptiness it leaves behind. Not just emotional emptiness, but routine emptiness. They used to be part of your day, someone you talked to when something good happened, someone you leaned on when things went wrong. And now there's this silence where their presence used to be. That silence can feel unbearable at first. Your instinct will be to fill it with distractions, with new people, with anything that keeps you from sitting with the loss. And while distractions can help temporarily, they won't heal you if you use them to avoid feeling. Because healing requires you to feel it fully, to sit in the discomfort, to accept that this chapter ended and that it's okay to grieve it. You might catch yourself wanting to reach out, not because you have something to say, but because you miss the familiarity, the comfort, the version of yourself that existed when they were around. But understand this, missing someone doesn't mean they're meant to be in your life again. It just means they were once important. There's a difference between love and attachment. Love wants what's best for both people. Attachment wants relief from pain. And most of the time when you want to go back, it's attachment talking, not love. It's the part of you that's scared of being alone, not the part that's thinking clearly. This is where growth actually happens. In the moments where you choose not to reach out, where you choose to sit with the ache instead of numbing it. You choose yourself even when it feels lonely. Every time you make that choice, you're rebuilding trust with yourself. You're proving that you can survive without them. And slowly, that silence won't feel so loud anymore. It'll start to feel like space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to rediscover who you are without them. And in that space, something new begins to form. Not another person, but a stronger version of you. One of the hardest things you'll face once you start letting go is the emptiness it leaves behind. Not just emotional emptiness, but routine emptiness. It used to be part of your day. Someone you talked to when something good happened, someone you leaned on when things went wrong. And now there's this silence where their presence used to be. That silence can feel unbearable at first. Your instinct will be to fill it with distractions, with new people, with anything that keeps you from sitting with the loss. And while distractions can help temporarily, they won't heal you if you use them to avoid feeling, because healing requires you to feel it fully, to sit in the discomfort, to accept that this chapter ended and that it's okay to grieve it. You might catch yourself wanting to reach out, not because you have something to say, but because you miss the familiarity, the comfort, the version of yourself that existed when they were around. But understand this. Missing someone doesn't mean they're meant to be in your life again. It just means they were once important. There's a difference between love and attachment. Love wants what's best for both people. Attachment wants relief from pain, and most of the time when you want to go back, It's attachment talking, not love. It's the part of you that's scared of being alone, not the part that's thinking clearly. This is where growth actually happens. And the moments where you choose not to reach out, where you choose to sit with the ache instead of numbing it, where you choose yourself even when it feels lonely, every time you make that choice, you're rebuilding trust with yourself. You're proving that you can survive without them. And slowly that silence won't feel so loud anymore. It'll start to feel like space, space to think, space to breathe, space to rediscover who you are without them. And in that space, something new begins to form, not another person, but a stronger version of you. Eventually you start noticing small shifts, not dramatic ones, nothing that feels like a movie moment, just quiet changes. You wake up and they aren't the first thought in your head anymore. You go a few hours without checking your phone. You laugh at something and realize it didn't immediately remind you of them, and for a second you feel guilty for that. Like moving forward means erasing what you had. It doesn't. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong, other days a random memory will knock the wind out of you. It doesn't mean you're going backwards, it means you're human. You spend time building something emotionally, tearing it down takes time too. Be patient with yourself in that process. This is also when clarity starts setting in. You begin to see things more honestly, the red flags you ignored, the effort imbalance, the moments where you shrunk yourself just to keep them around. You realize how often you settled for breadcrumbs and called it love because you didn't want to accept the truth. And instead of hurting you, that realization empowers you. Because now you know what you don't want. You know what you won't tolerate again. You know that love shouldn't feel like confusion, anxiety, or constant self-doubt. It shouldn't make you question your worth. It shouldn't require you to beg for effort or clarity. You also start forgiving yourself for staying too long, for hoping too hard, for ignoring your intuition. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. That version of you was just trying to be loved. There's nothing shameful about that. And slowly you stop romanticizing the past. You stop replaying only the good parts. You start remembering the nights you felt lonely even when they were still around, times you felt anxious instead of secure, the moments you felt like you were asking for too much when you were really just asking the wrong person. That's when letting go stops feeling like loss. It starts feeling like relief. At some point, you stop asking yourself why it didn't work. That question loses its power, not because you found every answer, but because you finally realize the answers wouldn't change the outcome. Understanding doesn't always heal you. Acceptance does. You accept that you loved genuinely, even if it wasn't returned the same way. You accept that you showed up fully, even if they didn't know how to meet you there. You accept that some people come into your life to teach you something, not to stay forever. And that lesson, as painful as it was, shaped you into someone wiser. You start trusting yourself again, trusting your judgment, trusting your ability to walk away when something doesn't feel right, trusting that if something ends, you will survive it. That trust is powerful. It changes how you approach everything else in your life. You become more intentional with your time, with your energy, with who you allow access to you. You no longer chase people who are unsure about you. You no longer explain your worth to anyone. You no longer wait around hoping someone will choose you, because you already chose yourself, and that choice shifts everything. You realize you don't need someone to complete you. You're already whole. You wanted them, yes, but you don't need them to be okay. That realization doesn't make you cold. It makes you free. Free from the constant anxiety, free from the emotional limbo, free from the cycle of waiting. You still believe in love, you still want connection, but now you want it without losing yourself, without shrinking, without begging, without settling. You want something that adds to your life, not something you have to recover from, and that's how you know you're healing. Not when the pain disappears completely, but when it no longer controls your decisions. I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but you have to let them go. Not because you didn't care enough, not because what you felt wasn't real, but because holding on to something that's already gone is only hurting you more. They're not coming back, and I know that's a hard pill to swallow. It's one of those truths that sits heavy in your chest because part of you is still hoping, still replaying memories, still thinking maybe one day things will go back to how they were. But the truth is, if they wanted to come back, they would have. You wouldn't be sitting here questioning everything. You wouldn't be overanalyzing every small sign. You wouldn't be waiting for a text that never comes. Someone who wants to be in your life makes that clear. They don't leave you guessing, they don't disappear, and expect you to keep the door open forever. Letting go doesn't mean what you had didn't matter. It doesn't erase the memories, the connection, or the time you shared. It just means you're choosing to stop living in the past. You're choosing to stop punishing yourself by holding on to something that no longer exists, and that choice takes strength, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. I know part of you is scared. Scared that letting go means starting over. Scared that that you won't feel that way about anyone else again. Scared that this was your one chance at something special. But that fear is lying to you. Life doesn't give you just one opportunity for love, connection, or happiness. It gives you many, but only if you make space for them. The sooner you let go, the sooner you heal. The sooner you stop checking their page, rereading old messages, and asking yourself what you did wrong, the sooner you start moving forward. And moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means accepting. It means allowing yourself to grow past this version of your life. Good things are going to come again, not the exact same things, not the same person, not the same situation, but something new, something healthier, something that won't leave you feeling confused, unchosen, or stuck. I promise you that. So let this be your reminder. You don't need to keep holding on to prove how much you cared. You've done enough. It's okay to release what no longer serves you. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is finally say goodbye, even when part of you still wishes they'd stay. You know that one friend who always looks fine on the outside? The one who never really asks for help? The one who somehow holds everything together without making a sound? They're the one who cracks jokes when the room feels awkward, the one who lightens the mood when things get heavy, the one who says, "I'm good," so casually that nobody questions it, but if you look closely, their eyes tell a different story. They're always there, always listening, always giving advice, always making time. If someone's hurting, they show up. If someone needs comfort, they provide it. If someone feels lost, they help them find direction. They became the glue without ever asking to be. And over time, they learned something dangerous. They learned that people rely on them being strong. They learned that when they show pain, it makes others uncomfortable, so they stop showing it. They mastered the art of looking okay. You don't see how tired they really are. You don't see the nights they sit in silence, staring at nothing, trying to keep themselves from falling apart. They laugh, but it's lighter now. They smile, but it doesn't reach the same place as it used to. They say they're just tired, when in reality they're exhausted in ways sleep can't fix. They learned how to bottle everything up, how to swallow emotions mid-sentence, how to carry pain quietly so no one else has to deal with it, because they don't want to be a burden. They don't want to ruin the mood. They don't want to take up space. So they shrink themselves emotionally, even while holding space for everyone else. And the craziest part, they're not asking to be saved. They don't want attention. They don't want pity. They don't want grand gestures. They just want someone to notice, someone to really ask how they're doing and actually stay for the answer. Someone to notice that their laughter sounds a little forced lately, that their messages are shorter, that they're physically present but mentally somewhere else. Someone to say, "You don't have to be strong right now," because being the strong one gets lonely. You carry everyone else's weight and still feel guilty for having your own. You feel like you don't have permission to fall apart because everyone else depends on you staying together. But even strong people need rest. Even strong people need to cry. Even strong people need reassurance. Strength doesn't mean never breaking. It means breaking quietly and still showing up. And that's not fair. So if you have that friend, the one who's always okay, the one who never complains, the one who holds everyone else together, check on them, not with a quick "you good?" Not with a surface level question. Check on them with presence, with patience, with a real conversation. Because sometimes the people who seem the most okay are the ones who need love the most. And sometimes all it takes is one person finally seeing them for the weight they've been carrying alone. Unrequited love is a quiet kind of pain, the kind that doesn't make noise. It just sits with you. It's loving someone who laughs with you, but never looks at you the way you look at them. They're comfortable around you. They trust you. They tell you things. And every time they talk about someone else, you smile, while something inside you cracks just a little more. You learn how to swallow words before they escape, compliments you never say, feelings you never confess, because deep down you already know the answer, so you love them quietly. You notice everything about them, their habits, their moods, the small details nobody else pays attention to, knowing full well you'll never live in their memory the way they live in yours. Somehow you convince yourself it's okay, that being close to them, even like this, is better than being without them at all. You give without expecting, you care without being chosen, you love without being loved back, and that hurts in ways you can't explain, but unrequited love teaches you something too. It shows you how deep your heart really is, how much you're capable of feeling, even when nothing is returned. Just don't disappear inside someone who can't meet you where you are, because one day someone will, and they'll give back everything you once gave away in silence. The hardest part about unrequited love isn't just that they don't feel the same, It's that they're close enough to keep the hope alive. They don't reject you outright, they don't shut the door. They just exist in your life. They text you, they lean on you, they laugh with you, and every small moment feels like maybe you're not imagining it. So you hold on. You tell yourself you're being patient. That timing is the issue, that one day they'll see what you feel so clearly, but deep down, you know you're waiting for something they never promised. And that's why it's so hard to leave, because unrequited love doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like unfinished business. You don't walk away angry, you walk away confused. You wonder if you should have said more, if you should have been quieter, if you waited too long, or tried too hard, and instead of letting go, you stay emotionally tethered, not because you're weak, but because your heart hasn't been given a clean ending, so it keeps hoping, keeps replaying moments, keeps searching for signs that maybe you still matter to them in that way, and that hope is what keeps the pain alive. You begin to wonder why you're always the one feeling more, why you're always the one waiting, why love seems so easy for others but feels just out of reach for you. You start shrinking your needs, telling yourself you don't want much anyway, convincing yourself that loving quietly is enough, but it's not, because caring without being chosen slowly teaches your heart that it should settle for less. You catch yourself doing things just to stay close, being extra understanding, always available, always forgiving. Not because you're weak, but because you're afraid that asking for more will push them away completely. So you accept crumbs and call it connection, and the longer this goes on, the more invisible you start to feel, not just to them, but to yourself. You forget what it feels like to be desired, to be someone's first choice, to be loved out loud, and that's the quiet danger of unrequited love. It doesn't just hurt you, it slowly teaches you to disappear. There's a reason unrequited love is so hard to walk away from. Not just love, it's anticipation. You live in the space of almost chosen, almost wanted, almost enough. Your brain starts clinging to small moments. A long conversation, a shared laugh, a look that might mean something, and those moments keep you hooked because when love isn't returned, your mind fills in the gaps with possibility. You imagine what could be instead of facing what is. And every time you think about letting go, you feel like you're giving up on a future that was never actually promised. So you stay hopeful, you stay available, you stay emotionally invested, not because it feels good, but because walking away feels like loss, even though nothing was ever yours. That's the trap. Unrequited love keeps you chasing closure from someone who doesn't know they're holding it, and the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to separate love from longing. You don't just miss them, you miss the version of yourself that believed it might work. At some point you feel it, the imbalance, you realize you're giving more than you're receiving, and then emotionally, mentally, quietly, you're investing energy into someone who isn't investing back. You plan around them, you think about them, you hold space for them, and they just live their life. That's when it starts to hurt differently. Not sharp pain, but exhaustion. You're tired of wondering, tired of hoping, tired of pretending you're okay with crumbs. You notice how much of yourself is tied up in someone who doesn't even know how deeply you care. And for the first time, you ask yourself a hard question. If nothing changes, then how long can I keep doing this? Because loving someone in silence means you never get reassurance, never get clarity, never get chosen, and slowly, it teaches your heart that effort doesn't lead to safety. That love means waiting, that closeness means sacrifice, and that's not fair to you. Love isn't supposed to drain you, it isn't supposed to make you feel invisible, it isn't supposed to cost you your sense of worth. And realizing that is the beginning of letting go, even if your heart isn't ready yet. Letting go doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels wrong. It feels like you're giving up on someone you care about, like you're betraying something that meant a lot to you, even if it was never returned. You start questioning yourself. Am I being selfish? Am I overreacting? Should I just keep loving them quietly like before? Because walking away doesn't just mean losing them. It means losing the hope you've been holding on to. And hope is hard to release. You've built routines around them. emotions around them, a future that only existed in your head but still felt real. So choosing yourself feels like cruelty at first, like you're the one causing the pain, but staying was hurting you too, just slower, just quieter, and that's the part people don't talk about. Sometimes self-respect feels like grief, sometimes growth feels like loss, sometimes choosing yourself feels worse than continuing to wait, but guilt doesn't mean you're wrong, it just means you cared deeply, and caring deeply doesn't obligate you to keep hurting yourself in silence. After you finally choose yourself, something unexpected happens. It feels empty, not peaceful, not freeing, just quiet in a way that's uncomfortable. You're no longer waiting for their message, no longer replaying conversations, no longer building your day around the possibility of them. And at first, that absence hurts more than the waiting did, because unrequited love filled space. It gave your emotions somewhere to go. It gave your heart something to hold on to, even if it was hurting you. Though when it's gone, you don't immediately feel relief. You feel loss. You miss the closeness. You miss the routine. You even miss the hope, as painful as it was. And that makes you question your decision. You wonder if you left too early, if you should have tried harder, if loneliness is worse than longing. But this part matters, because this emptiness isn't failure, it's withdrawal. Your heart is unlearning a pattern, and unlearning always feels uncomfortable before it feels right. You didn't lose love, you made room for it, even if nothing has filled that space yet. One day after the emptiness settles, something shifts. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just quietly. You start noticing how much lighter you feel without carrying love alone. You realize how much energy you used to spend hoping, waiting, adjusting, shrinking, all for someone who never met you where you stood. And for the first time, you don't miss them. You miss the idea of being chosen. That's an important difference, because now you know what it feels like to give deeply, and you also know what it costs when nothing comes back. So when love shows up again one day, it feels different. It doesn't make you question yourself. It doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't ask you to love in silence. It meets you halfway. You don't have to hide how much you care. You don't have to settle for almost. You don't have to convince yourself that crumbs are enough. And that's when you understand something fully. Unrequited love wasn't wasted. It taught you the depth of your heart. It proved you're capable of loving purely, selflessly, fully. But it was never meant to be your ending, because love isn't meant to be endured alone. It's meant to be shared. And one day someone will choose you as openly as you choose them. No silence, no guessing, no imbalance, just love. Lust will ruin your life if you don't learn how to recognize it for what it really is. Not temptation, not desire, not even attraction. Lust is a signal. It's like a check engine light flashing on your dashboard, warning you that something deeper is wrong under the surface. And most people don't want to hear that. They'd rather numb it, feed it, distract themselves with it, instead of asking why it showed up in the first place. Because here's the truth. When lust starts controlling your thoughts, your habits, your attention, it usually means you're lacking something real in your life. Not sex, not validation, intimacy. And intimacy doesn't always mean romance. That's where a lot of people get it twisted. Intimacy can be connection. It can be purpose. It can be faith. It can be feeling seen by people who actually care about you. It can be having someone you can talk to honestly without pretending you're okay. When those things are missing, lust steps in as a cheap replacement. Gives you a temporary hit, a moment of feeling wanted, a moment of escape, but once that moment passes, you're left emptier than before. That's why lust never satisfies. It promises relief, but delivers restlessness. You indulge, and instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel more hollow, more disconnected, more frustrated with yourself. And then the cycle repeats, because you're not fixing the problem, you're feeding the symptom. The craving itself isn't the enemy. The lack of awareness is. Lust shows up when you're avoiding something, when you're lonely, when you're stressed, when you're disconnected from yourself. It's your mind trying to fill a void without doing the work to understand why that void exists in the first place. And the more you indulge it without reflection, the more it delays your healing. You tell yourself it's harmless, that it's normal, that everyone does it. But deep down, you know when something isn't sitting right with your spirit. You know when it's no longer about desire and more about escape. This isn't about shame, it's about honesty. Lust is an indicator, a warning sign. A moment where you need to pause and ask yourself, what am I really craving right now? Connection? Comfort? Meaning? Peace? Because until you figure that out, lust will keep pulling you further away from yourself instead of closer to who you're meant to be. Most people don't want to admit this part, but lust usually shows up when you're feeling empty, not when you're fulfilled, when your life feels aligned, when you're grounded, when you have purpose and connection. Lust doesn't scream as loud. It might knock, but it doesn't take over. It only takes control when there's space inside you that hasn't been filled with anything meaningful. That's why lust hits hardest late at night, when you're alone, when the noise dies down, and there's nothing left to distract you from your thoughts. That's when your mind starts looking for something, anything, to feel good for a moment, and lust offers that shortcut. No effort, no vulnerability, no risk of rejection, just instant stimulation. But shortcuts always come with a cost. The more you use lust as an escape, the harder it becomes to sit with yourself. You start avoiding silence, avoiding stillness, avoiding the questions you don't want to answer. You tell yourself you're just satisfying a desire, but really you're training your brain to seek relief instead of growth, comfort instead of clarity. And over time, that changes you. It dulls your motivation. It weakens your discipline. It distorts how you view people, turning them into objects instead of humans. It lowers your tolerance for real connection because real intimacy requires patience, presence, and effort. Things lust never asks of you. This is why people who live in lust often feel stuck, not because they're bad or weak, but because they're constantly numbing the very discomfort that could push them to grow. Pain becomes something to escape instead of something to understand, and healing gets postponed again and again. You have to learn to pause when the urge hits, not to fight it with shame, but to question it. Ask yourself what you're actually missing in that moment. Is it connection, purpose, rest, direction? Because the urge is information, and if you listen to it instead of obeying it, it can lead you to what actually needs attention in your life. Lust loses power the moment you become aware of it. Here's where it gets uncomfortable but important. Lust isn't just about what you want. It's about what you're avoiding. Most people don't struggle with lust because they're overly sexual. They struggle because they're disconnected from themselves, from their purpose, from real relationships, from meaning. When you don't feel fulfilled in your day-to-day life, your mind looks for stimulation, something intense enough to make you forget how empty things feel. Lust is powerful because it hijacks your attention. It pulls you out of the present moment and into fantasy. And fantasy is easier than reality. Fantasy doesn't ask you to change. Reality does. That's why lust becomes a habit, not because it feels good, but because it distracts you from feeling bad. It numbs loneliness, it masks insecurity, it gives you a false sense of control when everything else in your life feels uncertain. But every time you choose that escape, you reinforce the idea that you can't handle discomfort without running from it. And that slowly chips away at you. You start feeling weaker mentally, less disciplined, less confident. You promise yourself you'll stop, then you don't. And now it's not just lust anymore, it's guilt, shame, self-disappointment. You start questioning your self-control, your character, your ability to change, all because you never addressed the root issue in the first place. The problem isn't desire. Desire is human. The problem is unchanneled desire. Desire without direction turns into self-destruction. When your energy isn't going into building something meaningful, it leaks into things that drain you instead. This is why people who overcome lust don't just resist harder, they replace it, they build structure, they strengthen their spirit, they deepen their relationships, they find something worth committing to that gives them purpose beyond momentary pleasure. Lust thrives in isolation, in boredom, in lack of direction. But when your life has meaning, when your days are intentional, when your spirit feels aligned, lust doesn't have much room to grow. It doesn't disappear overnight, but it stops controlling you. Another reason lust has so much power is because it disguises itself as confidence. It makes you feel wanted, desired, in control. For a brief moment, it tricks you into thinking you're fulfilled. But once that moment fades, you're left with the same questions, the same restlessness, the same hollow feeling you were trying to escape in the first place. That's how you know it's not real fulfillment. Real fulfillment doesn't vanish the second the stimulation stops. Real fulfillment gives you peace afterward, not regret. Clarity, not confusion. Strength, not self-disgust. And over time, if you're not careful, lust can start shaping how you view yourself. You begin to associate your worth with how desired you feel instead of who you actually are. You start needing validation just to feel okay. And when that validation isn't there, the craving comes back stronger, not because you're weak, but because your identity is being built on something unstable. This is where self-awareness becomes everything. You have to catch yourself and ask, what am I really avoiding right now? Am I running from loneliness, from boredom, from the work I know I need to do on myself? Lust often shows up when you're avoiding growth, when you're putting off healing, when you're ignoring parts of your life that need attention. The uncomfortable truth is that growth requires sitting with discomfort, requires stillness, silence, discipline, and lust offers you an easy way out of that process. But every time you take that exit, you delay becoming the version of yourself you know you're capable of being. You don't have to be perfect. You're going to slip. You're going to struggle. That's part of being human. What matters is whether you're conscious of the pattern or blindly repeating it. Awareness alone starts breaking the cycle. Because the goal isn't to eliminate desire. Desire is natural. The goal is to stop letting desire control you, to stop letting it dictate your habits, your focus, and your future. When you do that, you don't lose pleasure, you gain freedom. Here's where things start to shift if you're willing to be honest with yourself. Lust isn't just about what you want. It's about what you're avoiding becoming. Every time you give in without thinking, you're choosing comfort over growth. And that choice, repeated enough times, slowly shapes the direction of your life. You start delaying things you know you should be doing. Goals get pushed back, discipline weakens, motivation fades, not all at once, but subtly. You tell yourself you'll lock in tomorrow, you'll change next week, you'll get serious later. But later keeps moving, and you stay stuck in the same patterns, wondering why nothing feels different. And the worst part? Lust makes you numb to it. It gives you just enough relief to tolerate a life you know you're not fully proud of. It lowers the urgency to change, because why face the discomfort of growth when you can distract yourself instead? This is why so many people feel lost, not because they lack potential, but because they keep trading long-term fulfillment for short-term relief. And relief is never the same as peace. Relief fades, peace stays. When you start addressing the real voids in your life, lust starts losing its grip naturally. When you build structure into your days, when you commit to something bigger than yourself, when you start respecting your time, your body, your mind, when you develop a relationship with God, purpose, or discipline, whatever grounds you, lust doesn't hit as hard because now you have something to protect. You realize your energy is valuable, your attention is valuable, and not everything deserves access to you. You stop feeding impulses that don't align with the future you're trying to build, not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. That's when lust stops feeling like a battle, it starts feeling like a signal. A reminder to check in with yourself, to ask, am I aligned right now? Or am I avoiding something I need to face? And every time you choose alignment over impulse, you get a little stronger, a little clearer, a little more in control. At this stage, you start realizing something important. Lust was never the root problem, it was the symptom. The real issue was disconnection. Disconnection from yourself, from purpose, from meaning, from the version of you that feels grounded and whole. Once you see that, the urge loses some of its mystery. It's no longer this uncontrollable force, it's just information. You begin to notice patterns. The urges come when you're tired, when you're bored, when you feel unaccomplished at the end of the day, when you avoided something you know you should have handled, and instead of judging yourself for it, you start listening. You ask, what am I missing right now? Rest, direction, fulfillment, human connection. This is where growth actually happens. When you suppress desire, but when you replace it. When you choose to build instead of escape. When you put energy into things that give back instead of drain you. Working on your body, your craft, your faith, your friendships. Things that leave you stronger afterward, not emptier. And the crazy part is, the more you do this, the quieter lust becomes. Not because it's gone, but because it's no longer needed to cope. You're not running from yourself anymore. You're becoming someone you respect. You start carrying yourself differently. Your confidence becomes real, not borrowed from temporary validation. You don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. You feel solid just being present, just being disciplined, just knowing you're moving in the right direction even when it's uncomfortable. That's when self-control stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like freedom. Freedom from compulsions, freedom from regret, freedom from waking up feeling disappointed in yourself. You're no longer controlled by every urge that passes through your mind. You won't be perfect. Nobody is, but you'll be conscious. And consciousness changes everything, because once you're aware, you get to choose, and choosing growth over impulse again and again is how you reclaim your life. There's a moment where you finally understand that discipline isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about choosing a better one, a deeper one. The kind that doesn't disappear the second the screen goes dark or the urge passes, the kind that stays with you when you're alone with your thoughts and you can actually respect the person staring back at you. You start realizing how much time and energy you were leaking, hours, focus, mental clarity, all going towards something that never loved you back, never built you up, never moved your life forward. And once you see that clearly, it's hard to unsee it. You begin protecting your mind the same way you'd protect your body. You stop feeding it things that weaken it. Now, this is where restraint becomes self-respect. You're no longer saying no because you're scared. You're saying no because you finally understand the cost of saying yes. You've felt the emptiness after. You've lived the fog. You've experienced how indulging too much slowly disconnects you from your ambition, your relationships, your purpose. And something else changes too. You start seeing people differently, not as objects, not as outlets, but as humans again, with depth, with emotion, with stories. Real connection stops feeling boring. It starts feeling rare, valuable, something worth protecting instead of rushing. That's when intimacy starts to return in healthier forms, real conversations, genuine friendships, moments of stillness that don't need to be filled, a sense of closeness with yourself that you didn't even realize you were missing. And once you taste that, lust loses its grip even more, because now you're building something, a life you don't need to escape from, a version of yourself you're proud of. When that happens, the urge doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. It passes like a thought, like a wave. At the end of the day, lust only has power when you don't understand it. When you finally see it for what it is, a signal, not a solution, it stops running your life. You stop treating it like something you must obey and start treating it like something you observe, and that shift changes everything. You realize you don't need to be perfect to be disciplined. You just need to be honest. Honest about what you're missing, honest about what you're avoiding, honest about who you want to become, because every urge is an invitation, not to indulge, but to check in. Once you start responding instead of reacting, you regain control. You stop letting momentary desire dictate long-term direction. You stop trading peace for pleasure. You stop delaying your growth for comfort, and slowly, your life begins to align with the values you claim to have. Lust didn't ruin you. Revealed the places where healing was needed, the moments where connection was missing, the areas of your life that needed structure, purpose, and depth. And once you start filling those spaces intentionally, lust no longer screams for attention. It fades into the background. You become more present, more focused, more grounded. You don't feel constantly pulled in 100 directions anymore. You know what matters, you know what doesn't, and you act accordingly. This isn't about becoming cold or denying desire. It's about mastering yourself, about building a life where your mind works for you, not against you, where your choices reflect your values, where you don't need escape because you're finally moving towards something real. And when you get there, you'll look back and realize something important. The urge was never the enemy. Ignoring the message was. I'm romantic, I believe in effort, in choosing someone daily, in love that feels intentional, not accidental, but I'm not naive anymore. I don't confuse chemistry with commitment. I don't mistake words for consistency. I don't fall in love with potential and ignore reality to protect the fantasy. That version of me is gone. Being romantic doesn't mean I overlook red flags. It doesn't mean I excuse disrespect. It doesn't mean I stay just because I feel deeply. It means I love with awareness now. I still want connection, still want intimacy, still want something real, but I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my peace just to keep a feeling alive. I know the difference now between someone who feels good and someone who is good for me. I know the difference between affection and effort, between attention and intention, and I don't chase illusions anymore. I won't romanticize someone who can't show up consistently. I won't soften the truth to protect a story I wanted to believe in. I can be tender and still have boundaries, hopeful and still realistic. Romantic doesn't mean blind. It means I care deeply, but I pay attention. And this time I don't fall in love at the expense of myself. I used to think being romantic meant enduring, staying longer than I should, giving the benefit of the doubt even when doubt was all I felt, believing that love meant patience no matter the cost. That's where it went wrong. I mistook tolerance for depth. I confused hope with commitment. I kept softening my boundaries to protect a version of love that wasn't protecting me. That wasn't romance, that was self-abandonment. Being romantic doesn't mean I ignore patterns. It doesn't mean I wait for someone to become who they promise to be. It means I listen when actions contradict words. It means I leave when effort fades. It means I don't negotiate respect just to keep a connection alive. I still believe in love that's big, in feelings that are deep, in choosing someone with intention. But now, romance has standards. I won't pour into uncertainty. I won't romanticize inconsistency. I won't stay where I feel anxious and call it passion. Romantic love should feel safe enough to be honest, stable enough to be real, mutual enough to last, and if it isn't, I don't try to fix it anymore. Because I can be romantic without being reckless with my heart. Being romantic but not naive changes how you choose people from the very beginning. You don't rush connection anymore. You don't get swept up by intensity. You don't confuse attention with alignment. You let things unfold. You watch how someone shows up when it's inconvenient, how they communicate when things are unclear, how they act when they don't get their way. Because attraction is easy, consistency is not. You stop falling for the idea of someone and start paying attention to how they actually treat you. Do they follow through? Do they respect your time? Do they show curiosity about your inner world? Or just enjoy how you make them feel? Being romantic doesn't mean you stop feeling sparks. It means sparks aren't enough anymore. You want safety with the spark, effort with the chemistry, clarity with the feelings, so you slow down, not because you're scared, but because you value yourself too much to rush into something unproven. You let people reveal who they are without trying to fill in the gaps for them. And if something feels off, you don't romanticize it. You listen, because the right connection won't need you to ignore yourself to keep it alive. Being romantic without being naive means I still believe in love. I just don't chase it blindly anymore. I don't force connections. I don't convince people to choose me. I don't stay where effort feels one-sided and call it patience. I let love meet me where I am. If someone wants me, I won't have to guess. If someone cares, I won't have to ask repeatedly. If something is real, it won't require me to ignore my instincts. I still believe in late night talks, in choosing each other, in building something meaningful, but I don't sacrifice clarity for intensity anymore. I've learned that love isn't proven by how much you're willing to endure. It's proven by how safe you feel being yourself without shrinking, performing, or waiting. So now I don't rush toward feelings just because they're strong. I let actions catch up to words. I let time reveal truth. I let consistency do the convincing. And if someone can't meet me there, I don't make it mean love is dead. I just understand that not every connection is meant to last. I can still be soft, still hopeful, still romantic. I'm just no longer willing to lose myself for the sake of a feeling. Being romantic, not naive, changed what I tolerate. I don't excuse inconsistency anymore. I don't sit with confusion and call it giving things time. I don't ignore the feeling that something is off just because I want it to work. Before, I'd stay and explain. I'd adjust. I'd wait. Now, I observe. If effort fades, I notice. If respect slips, I address it once. If nothing changes, I leave. Not angrily, not dramatically, just clearly. I don't feel guilty walking away from things that don't align anymore, because walking away isn't punishment, it's protection. I used to think romance meant holding on. Now I know it also means knowing when to let go. I still care deeply, still feel intensely, still believe in choosing someone with intention, but I won't romanticize potential at the expense of reality. I won't stay where I feel anxious, unseen, or unsure of my place. Romance without boundaries is just hope with no direction. And now, my heart has standards, not walls, standards. Being romantic and grounded makes love feel quieter than I expected. There's no chaos, no guessing games, no emotional roller coaster disguised as passion. And at first that felt strange. I was used to intensity proving something, used to anxiety meaning I cared, used to confusion keeping me invested. But that wasn't depth, that was instability. Now, romance feels calm. It looks like consistency. It sounds like clear communication. It feels like not having to overthink where I stand. There's still excitement. It's just not fueled by uncertainty. I don't need constant reassurance anymore. I don't need dramatic gestures to feel chosen. I don't need to be chased to feel wanted. Because when something is real, it doesn't keep you on edge. Being romantic doesn't mean I crave fireworks every moment. It means I value safety with the spark, peace with the passion, connection that doesn't cost me my balance. And the biggest shift, I don't mistake calm for boredom anymore. I understand now that love doesn't have to be loud to be meaningful. Sometimes the most romantic thing is feeling secure enough to just be yourself. Being romantic, not naive, changed how I communicate my needs. I don't hint anymore. I don't water things down to avoid being too much. I don't stay silent hoping someone will just figure it out. I say what I need, not aggressively, not defensively, just honestly, because needing clarity isn't pressure. Needing consistency isn't insecurity. Needing effort isn't asking for the world, it's asking for alignment. Before, I was scared that speaking up would push people away, that if I asked for more, I'd lose what I had. Now I understand something important. If honesty scares someone off, they were never meant to stay. I don't over-explain myself anymore. I don't apologize for having standards. I don't negotiate my needs to make someone comfortable. Romance doesn't mean silence. It means trusting that the right person won't feel threatened by clear communication. They won't call it drama. They won't call it too much. They won't make you feel guilty for wanting to feel secure. They'll listen, they'll respond, they'll meet you where you are. And if they don't, I don't take it personally, because being romantic, not naive, means I'd rather be understood slowly than misunderstood forever. Being romantic with boundaries filters people out quietly. You don't have to test anyone, you don't have to interrogate intentions, you don't have to force clarity. You just stay consistent with who you are, you show up honestly, you communicate clearly. You don't overgive to keep someone interested, and that alone does the work. People who only wanted attention get bored. People who thrived on ambiguity get uncomfortable. People who wanted access without effort slowly fade, and you let them, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped chasing. Being romantic, not naive, means you don't audition for love anymore. You don't prove your worth. You don't compete for consistency. You don't bend yourself to be easier to choose. You let people meet you where you stand, and the ones who can't, they remove themselves. That used to scare you. Now it reassures you, because the right connection won't need you to lower your standards to keep it alive. It will rise to meet them. And the most romantic thing about that, you don't have to lose yourself to find love anymore. I still believe in love. That part never left. What changed is who I trust first. I believe in myself now. I trust my intuition when something feels off. I trust my boundaries when they need to be held. I trust my heart without handing it over blindly. Before, I believed love required risk at any cost, that you had to jump first and hope someone caught you. Now I know better. Real love doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. It doesn't punish you for being honest. It doesn't require you to doubt your worth to keep it alive. Being romantic, not naive, means I still dream. I just don't disappear into the dream. I don't ignore red flags to protect the fantasy. I don't silence my needs to keep someone comfortable. I don't romanticize suffering and call it devotion. I let love add to my life, not destabilize it. And the biggest shift of all, I don't fear losing love anymore the way I used to, because I know I won't lose myself trying to keep it. That confidence didn't come from love finding me. It came from me finally standing with myself. Being romantic, not naive, means I didn't lose my softness. I refined it. I still believe in love that's intentional, in effort that's mutual, in choosing someone without hesitation or games, but I no longer confuse love with endurance. I won't stay where I feel uncertain. I won't fight for clarity. I won't romanticize someone's potential while ignoring how they treat me now. Romance isn't blind faith anymore. It's awareness. It's knowing that feelings matter, but actions matter more. That chemistry is exciting, but consistency is what lasts. That love shouldn't cost you your peace, your voice, or yourself. I still want something real. I still want depth. I still want connection that feels meaningful. I just won't abandon myself to get it. If someone meets me with honesty, I open my heart. If they meet me with effort, I lean in. If they meet me halfway, I walk the rest with them. And if they don't, I don't force it. I don't chase it. I don't grieve what was never aligned. Because being romantic doesn't mean I accept less. It means I know exactly what kind of love I want, and I'm patient enough to wait for something that doesn't ask me to be smaller, quieter, or less aware. I'm still a romantic. I just finally learned how to protect my heart without closing it. And that's the difference. They say your second love hits the deepest. And at first I didn't believe that. I thought nothing could touch the intensity of the first one. The first love is loud. It's reckless. It's the kind of love that makes you believe everything will work out just because you feel it so strongly. You fall without thinking. You trust without fear. You don't even know what heartbreak really is yet, so you give everything freely. But the second love comes after reality has already introduced itself. It comes after disappointment, after the nights where you questioned your worth, after you learned that love doesn't always stay no matter how hard you try. So this time, you don't rush, you don't dive in head first, you hesitate, you analyze, you protect your heart like it's something fragile because now you know it is, and that's what makes the second love different. You don't love blindly anymore, you love intentionally, you pay attention to effort, to consistency, to how someone treats you when it's inconvenient, not just when it's easy. You're still scared, but you're braver in a quieter way. You open up slowly, piece by piece, hoping you won't regret it again. And somehow, it still means more than you expected, because after being broken once, feeling safe again hits different. Feeling chosen without having to beg hits different. Being loved without chaos feels almost unfamiliar at first. You keep waiting for the catch. For the moment it all falls apart, but it doesn't, at least not right away. The second love isn't about butterflies in your stomach. It's about calm in your chest. It's about being understood without having to explain yourself over and over. It's about not feeling anxious when your phone is quiet. It's about knowing where you stand. It's about realizing that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. And even if the second love doesn't last forever, it leaves a different kind of mark. It teaches you what love is supposed to feel like. It shows you that you can love deeply without losing yourself, that you can stay soft without being naive, that healing doesn't mean closing your heart, it means choosing better. Your first love changes you, but your second love reminds you why you didn't give up on love in the first place. And that's why it hurts deeper, because this time you knew what you were risking and you loved anyway. What people don't tell you is that the second love doesn't just affect your heart, it reshapes the way you see everything. You're not the same person you were the first time you fell in love. You're more aware now, more cautious. You've seen how quickly things can change, how someone can promise forever and still walk away. So you love with your eyes open this time. You notice the small things, the tone shifts, the effort levels, the moments where silence says more than words ever could. You're not naive anymore, but you're not closed off either. And that's the dangerous balance, because part of you is still hopeful, still wanting to believe that this time will be different, that maybe this love will be the one that stays. And because you're loving with intention now, when it starts to slip, you feel it immediately. The second love hurts because you don't get blindsided. You see it coming. You sense the distance before it's spoken. You feel the warmth fade before it's gone. You recognize the patterns because you've lived them before, and yet you still stay longer than you should. Not because you're desperate, but because you understand love better now. You know relationships aren't perfect. You know people struggle. You try to be patient. You try to communicate. You try to fix instead of flee. That's what makes it cut deeper when it ends. Because you didn't love blindly. You loved consciously. You loved knowing the risk. The second love doesn't shatter you the way the first one does. It doesn't leave you confused about what went wrong. Instead, it leaves you quietly exhausted. You don't cry as loudly, you don't fall apart as dramatically. You just sit with this heavy realization that sometimes, even when you do things the right way, love can still end. And that's a different kind of pain. It's the pain of knowing you grew, healed, and tried again, and still didn't get the ending you hoped for. But it's also the pain that proves how strong you've become, because even after everything, you are still capable of opening your heart again. That matters more than you think. The second love stays with you in quieter ways, not as chaos, not as obsession, but as reflection. It makes you look at yourself differently, at the way you love, at the boundaries you set, at the parts of you that grew stronger and the parts that are still tender. You don't replay every moment wondering what you did wrong like the first time. Instead, you replay moments wondering how something that felt so healthy could still slip through your fingers, and that's when it hits you. Love isn't a guarantee. Effort doesn't come with insurance. Doing your best doesn't mean you'll always get to keep what you care about. That realization hurts, but it also matures you. You stop romanticizing pain. You stop thinking love has to be hard to be meaningful. You stop chasing people who can't meet you where you are. The second love teaches you discernment. It teaches you that chemistry isn't enough, that timing matters, that two good people can still be wrong for each other in that moment of life. And accepting that is one of the hardest lessons there is. You don't come out of it bitter, at least not if you're honest with yourself. You come out clearer. You know what you want now, what you won't tolerate, what you deserve without needing to explain it to anyone. And even though it didn't last, it didn't fail, it served its purpose. It showed you that love can feel safe, that connection can be calm, that you don't have to lose yourself to be close to someone. The second love doesn't destroy your belief in love, it refines it. It strips away the fantasy and leaves you with truth. And truth, even when it hurts, is always better than illusion. Because now, when love comes again, and it will, you won't be chasing it, you'll be choosing it. What makes the second love linger is how close it came to being right. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't built on illusion. It felt grounded, like something you could grow into, instead of something you were chasing. And that's why letting it go feels so unfair. You did the work this time. You showed up differently. You loved with awareness, and still it slipped away. That's the part nobody prepares you for. You start asking quieter questions. Not why wasn't I enough, but why wasn't this the right time? You realize that love isn't just about effort or intention. It's also about alignment. About two people being ready in the same season of life. And sometimes, no matter how real it feels, the timing just isn't there. The second love teaches you that endings don't always come from betrayal or lack of care. Sometimes they come from growth pulling people in different directions. From life demanding things one person is ready to give and the other isn't yet. And that kind of ending hurts because there's no villain to blame. You don't leave angry, you leave understanding, and that understanding weighs heavy. But here's the quiet truth. The second love doesn't close your heart, it strengthens it. It proves you're capable of loving again without losing yourself. It shows you that healing worked, that you didn't harden, that you didn't shut down. You took the risk again, knowing how badly it could hurt, and that courage matters because love isn't measured by how long it lasts. It's measured by how honestly it's given, and the second love is often the most honest version of you. Not perfect, not fearless, but real, and that's something no ending can take away. The second love changes how you carry yourself afterward. You don't walk away shattered, but you don't walk away untouched either. There's a quiet shift in you. You become softer in some places, stronger in others. You learn how to sit with loss without letting it turn into bitterness, and that balance takes time. You notice how you move differently now. You're slower to give access to your heart, but not closed. You're more honest about what you need, even if it risks someone leaving. You no longer stay silent just to keep the peace, because the second love taught you that losing yourself slowly is worse than losing someone quickly. You also learn that closure doesn't always come from a conversation. Sometimes it comes from acceptance, from realizing that you gave what you could with what you knew at the time, that both of you tried in the ways you knew how, and that an ending doesn't erase the good that existed. The memories don't hurt the same way anymore. They don't stab, they ache, and even that ache becomes familiar, manageable. It reminds you that you once felt safe with someone, and that means you can feel that way again. Maybe not with them, but with someone else, someday. The second love doesn't leave you afraid to love again. It leaves you prepared. You know what to look for now. You know the difference between attention and effort, between chemistry and compatibility, between wanting someone and being ready to build with them. And when love finds you again, because it will, you won't be chasing the feeling. You'll be recognizing calm, mutual, grounded, something that doesn't ask you to prove your worth or question your place. That's the quiet gift of the second love. It doesn't stay forever, but it stays with you in the way you love next. There's a moment after the second love ends where you realize you're not angry anymore. Not at them, not even at yourself. You're just tired. Tired in a way that only comes from caring deeply and trying your best. And that tiredness forces you to slow down and actually listen to yourself. You start asking different questions now. Not, how do I get them back? But why did I stay when I felt myself shrinking? You become more aware of the moments you ignored your intuition, the times your body knew before your heart was ready to admit it. And instead of beating yourself up for it, you start forgiving yourself for being human. The second love teaches you that loving someone doesn't mean abandoning yourself. That compromise shouldn't feel like self-erasure. That consistency matters more than intensity. And that someone can care about you deeply and still not be capable of loving you in the way you need. You also realize something else that's important. Just because a love ends doesn't mean it failed. Some connections are meant to show you a version of yourself you didn't know existed, a braver version, a more open version, a version that learned how to communicate, how to trust again, how to be vulnerable without losing control. And that version of you doesn't disappear when the relationship ends. It stays. You carry it into every interaction after, into the boundaries you set, into the standards you keep, into the way you walk away sooner when something doesn't feel right instead of forcing yourself to stay. The second love doesn't break you. It refines you. It teaches you how to love without fantasy, without desperation, without fear running the show. And even though it didn't last, it proves something important, that you're capable of loving in a healthy way. And once you know that, you never really lose. After the second love, you stop romanticizing ending. You understand that sometimes things don't fall apart loudly. They fade, they change shape. They quietly reach a point where staying would mean forcing something that's no longer aligned. And accepting that takes more strength than holding on ever did. You learn how to grieve without dramatizing. You let yourself miss them without wishing to undo the ending. You don't demonize what you adjust to make letting go easier. You honor it for what it was, meaningful, imperfect, and real. That kind of honesty with yourself is growth. You also become more intentional with your energy. You don't over-explain your feelings to people who aren't listening. You don't overextend yourself to prove your worth. You save your softness for those who handle it with care, because the second love taught you how valuable that softness actually is, and slowly, without forcing it, you start to feel whole again, not because someone replaced them, but because you learned how to stand on your own with everything you gained from loving. You realize that love didn't take anything from you. It gave you clarity, depth, emotional intelligence you didn't have before. The second love doesn't leave you empty, it leaves you wiser. You understand now that love isn't about avoiding pain, it's about choosing something real, knowing it could hurt, and still showing up with honesty. And when you're able to do that without losing yourself, that's when love becomes something powerful instead of fragile. You're not the same person you were before them. You're better prepared for what comes next. The second love stays with you not as pain, but as proof that your heart didn't close after being hurt. Proof that you didn't let fear turn you cold. Proof that even after disappointment, you were still willing to try again. And that matters more than whether it lasts, because the goal was never to avoid heartbreak forever. The goal was to love without losing yourself. And the second love showed that you could be open without being reckless, vulnerable without being naive. You learned how to love with balance, and one day when love comes again, you'll feel the difference immediately. It won't feel rushed, it won't feel heavy, it won't feel like you're walking on eggshells or trying to prove your value. It'll feel mutual, steady, easy in a way that doesn't scare you. You won't be chasing a feeling anymore. You'll be choosing a person, and that's the quiet beauty of the second. It doesn't promise forever, it prepares you. It teaches you that love doesn't need to hurt to be meaningful, and that peace is just as powerful as passion. So if your second love didn't last, don't mourn it like a failure. See it for what it really was. A turning point, a lesson, a reminder that your heart is still capable of real connection. The first love opens your heart. The second love teaches it how to stay open. And whatever comes next, you'll be ready. She replaced me in a week, 7 days. And I've replayed that number in my head more times than I'd like to admit. Because when something you invested months, maybe years, into gets swapped out in 7 days, it doesn't just hurt, it destabilizes you. It makes you question your perception, it makes you question your value, it makes you question whether what you had was ever real in the first place. I keep thinking about how we ended the conversations, the tone, the way she said she needed time, the way she said she had to focus on herself, and then a week later there's someone else standing where I used to stand. So what was the truth? Was she grieving while I was still loving? Was she detaching while I was trying? Was I the only one still emotionally present toward the end? Because you don't replace someone in a week unless you were already halfway gone. That's the part that keeps echoing in my mind. You don't wake up on Monday heartbroken and by Sunday decide you're ready for someone new. That's not healing, that's transition. And if she transitioned that smoothly, that quickly, then maybe I wasn't as permanent in her world as she was in mine. And that realization stings more than the breakup itself, because breakups hurt. But being replaced fast, that attacks your identity. It makes you feel temporary. It makes you feel interchangeable. It makes you feel like you were just holding a spot until something better came along. And I hate that my mind even goes there. But when someone replaces you in a week, you start asking dangerous questions. Was I not enough? Was I boring? Was I too available? Did she already have him lined up? Was I just comfortable, not essential? And the scary part is, your brain doesn't just ask those questions, it starts believing them. You start comparing yourself to someone you don't even know. You start imagining that he must have something you didn't. More excitement, more dominance, more money, more mystery, more something. And now it feels like you lost a competition you didn't even know you were in. But love was never supposed to be competitive. It was supposed to be intentional, chosen, protected. And if she could swap me out in 7 days, then maybe what we had wasn't as protected as I thought. Maybe I was fighting for something that was already slipping away. Maybe I was loving someone who had already emotionally exited. And that's the part that hurts the most. Not that she found someone new, but that she found someone new that quickly, because that speed tells a story. And I'm still trying to figure out what that story says about me. I think what really messed with me wasn't just that she replaced me, it was how effortless it looked, how natural she made it seem. Like I was just a chapter she flipped past without rereading, because I'm still here sitting with it, still replaying the last conversations in my head, still wondering if I missed signs, still trying to understand where it actually started falling apart, and she's already smiling next to someone new. That kind of speed doesn't just hurt, it humiliates you. It makes you feel like you were the only one emotionally invested at the end. Like while you were trying to fix it, she was already detaching. Like while you were thinking, we just need time, she was thinking, I need someone else. And the scariest part, I don't know which version of reality is true. Was she already talking to him before we ended? Was I slowly being phased out while I was still trying to show up? Or did she just move on that fast because she can't be alone? Every scenario hurts in a different way. If she was already lining him up, then I was loving someone who was preparing my replacement. If she just needed validation that quickly, then I was never the emotional anchor I thought I was. And if she genuinely didn't feel anything after it ended, then maybe I meant less than I believed. That's what a 1-week replacement does to your mind. It makes you question the entire foundation. You start rewriting memories. That time she seemed distant, that time she picked a fight out of nowhere, that time she said she felt confused. Now they don't feel random anymore. Now they feel like early signs of an exit. And the worst part is realizing that you might have been the only one still emotionally inside the relationship toward the end, because you can't replace someone in a week unless you were already halfway gone. And that's the sentence that keeps echoing. Halfway gone. Maybe she left emotionally months ago. Maybe I was loving someone who had already checked out. Maybe the breakup wasn't the beginning of the end. Maybe it was just the announcement, and that realization shifts the pain, because now it's not just heartbreak, it's feeling blindsided, it's feeling like you were operating on outdated information, like you thought you were both building, but she was already packing. And I hate that this makes me question my value, because logically, I know someone moving on fast doesn't define me, but emotionally, it feels like it does. It feels like I was replaceable, interchangeable, temporary, and nobody wants to feel temporary in something they treated as permanent. I keep thinking about how deeply I committed, how I shut down distractions, how I defended her when people doubted us, how I chose her repeatedly. And now it feels like I was the only one guarding something she was willing to trade. That's what makes it feel unfair. Not that she moved on, but that she moved on like it was easy, like I was just space that needed to be filled. And that's the dangerous thought, because I wasn't just space. I was time, I was effort, I was loyalty, I was presence. And if she could replace all of that in 7 days, then either she never fully valued it, or she never fully processed it. And I don't know which one hurts more, because if she didn't value it, then I misjudged everything. And if she didn't process it, then she's just distracting herself. But distraction still feels like replacement when you're the one left behind. And I'm left here trying to rebuild confidence that got shaken by a 7-day timeline, trying to remind myself that speed doesn't equal significance, trying to remember that depth doesn't get erased overnight, because if what we had was real to me, then it was real, even if she replaced it quickly. But still, 7 days. That number doesn't just represent time, it represents how fast someone can move on when you thought you meant more. And I'm still trying to figure out what that says about her and what it doesn't say about me. The part nobody prepares you for is how fast replacement attacks your confidence. Not just your feelings, your confidence, because heartbreak hurts your chest, but being replaced quickly hits your ego. And ego isn't pride, ego is identity. It's how you see yourself. And when someone moves on in a week, your brain starts filling in blanks you never wanted to think about. You start comparing yourself to someone you don't even know. What does he have that I don't? Is he more exciting, more unpredictable, more emotionally unavailable, more dominant, more detached? Did she need someone less steady, less serious, less invested? You start dissecting yourself like you were the problem to be solved. And that's dangerous, because now it's not just about her moving on, it's about you feeling like you lost to someone else, like this was a competition, like you were weighed against another option and didn't measure up. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about. If someone can replace you in a week, they didn't replace you. They replaced the role, they replaced the attention, they replaced the space, they replaced the feeling of not being alone, but connection. Real connection, that doesn't get swapped that quickly. You can substitute company, you can substitute validation, but you can't duplicate depth overnight. And I have to keep reminding myself of that, because when you see them laughing together, posting together, looking comfortable together, your mind doesn't care about logic. It sees images and it translates them into meaning. They're happier. She upgraded. You weren't enough. But images don't show history. They don't show inside jokes. They don't show late night vulnerability. They don't show how deeply you invested. They show a moment, and moments are easy to manufacture. Depth takes time, and if she replaced me in 7 days, then either she had already emotionally left long before we officially ended, or she doesn't process loss the way I do. And both are hard to accept, because if she left emotionally before I did, then I was loving someone who was already gone. And if she doesn't process loss deeply, then I was loving someone who doesn't sit with pain. She escapes it. And escape looks like replacement when you're the one grieving. I won't lie though. Part of what hurts is feeling disposable. Like I was just a chapter. Like I was just a phase. Like I was someone she needed for that season. And once it was over, I was easy to move past. But here's what I'm starting to understand. People who move on that quickly aren't necessarily healed. They're avoiding, they're filling silence, they're covering discomfort, because sitting alone after a breakup is uncomfortable. It forces reflection, it forces accountability, it forces grief, and not everyone has the emotional discipline to sit with that. Some people run straight into the next distraction, not because the previous person meant nothing, but because feeling nothing feels easier than feeling everything. And I need to remember that her timeline isn't a measurement of my worth. It's a reflection of her coping style. Still, that doesn't erase the sting, because I'm still here thinking about what we had. Still processing, still grieving, still reconstructing my confidence, and she's already building something new. That imbalance feels unfair, like I'm stuck in emotional traffic while she sped through the exit ramp, and maybe that's the hardest pill to swallow. Not that she found someone else, but that she found someone else while I'm still untangling myself from what we were. It makes you feel behind, like you're losing, like you're weaker for caring longer, but caring longer isn't weakness, it's depth, and depth doesn't reset in 7 days. So maybe the real truth is this: she replaced the position, but she didn't replace the impact. And if what we had was real to me, then it mattered, even if she chose not to sit in it, even if she chose speed over reflection, because I would rather be the one who feels deeply than the one who forgets quickly. 7 days might look like replacement, but sometimes it's just avoidance in disguise. And one day, when the distraction fades, she might finally sit with what I've been sitting with this whole time, and by then I'll be further ahead emotionally than she ever was, not because I moved on faster, but because I actually processed it. And that's something nobody can replace in a week. The worst part about her replacing me in a week isn't even the new guy, it's the silence that came with it, because when someone moves on that fast, they don't just leave you, they erase you. The calls stop, the inside jokes disappear, the routine you built together vanishes, and suddenly the person who used to know your schedule, your moods, your patterns is giving that attention to someone else. That's what makes it feel unreal, because it's not just that she found someone new, it's that she redirected everything so easily. The same energy, the same time, the same effort, just different face. And that's when your mind spirals into the dangerous place. If she can give someone else what she gave me that quickly, was it ever special? That question hits hard, because we don't just want to be loved, we want to feel irreplaceable. We want to feel like what we built had weight, like it left a mark, like it couldn't just be swapped out like a profile picture. And when she replaced me in 7 days, it felt like I was lightweight, like I was something she could carry easily and set down just as easily. But here's the thing I keep wrestling with. Maybe it wasn't easy. Maybe it just looks easy. Social media never shows grief. It doesn't show reflection. It doesn't show confusion. It shows highlights. And maybe what I'm seeing is the highlight reel of her coping, because moving on quickly doesn't always mean you didn't care. Sometimes it means you can't sit still with pain. Sometimes it means you need distraction to avoid accountability. Sometimes it means you'd rather build something new than examine why the last thing broke. But none of that makes it easier to watch, because while she's building new memories, I'm still dismantling old ones. I'm still processing the last conversation, still remembering the way she used to look at me, still trying to figure out when it started fading. And that imbalance makes you feel like you lost twice. You lost the relationship, and you lost the race to move on. And I hate that it feels like a race, because healing shouldn't be competitive. But when someone replaces you in a week, it feels like you're the only one still standing in the wreckage, like she walked away from the crash without even looking back, and you're still checking for broken pieces. What hurts even more is knowing I didn't have a backup. I didn't have someone lined up. I didn't have a just in case. When we ended, it was just me in the silence, and I chose to sit in it, not because I wanted to suffer, but because I respect what we had enough to process it properly. So when she jumped into something new that fast, it felt like I was the only one honoring the history, like I was the only one treating it like it mattered, and that's a lonely feeling, to believe something was significant and watch the other person treat it like it was temporary. But maybe the truth is simpler. Maybe she didn't replace me. Maybe she replaced the feeling of being alone. Maybe she replaced the discomfort. Maybe she replaced the emptiness, because some people don't know how to sit with themselves after something ends. They need noise. They need attention. They need someone new to prove they're still wanted, and if that's the case, then her moving on in a week says more about her relationship with silence than it does about my value. Still, that doesn't stop the thoughts, because at night, logic fades and emotion gets loud, and in those moments, it feels like I wasn't enough. Like if I had been better, stronger, more exciting, more something, she wouldn't have moved on that fast. But I have to remind myself, you can be enough for someone and still not be there forever. You can love someone deeply and still not be what they're built to keep. And if she could replace me in 7 days, then maybe I wasn't meant to stay in her life long term. Maybe I was a lesson. Maybe she was mine. But what I refuse to accept is that I was insignificant, because I know how I loved, I know how I showed up, I know how I committed, and those things don't become meaningless just because someone else moved quickly. If anything, they prove something about me, that I invest fully, that I don't keep backups, that I don't treat people like placeholders. And maybe that's rare. Maybe that's why this hurts more, because I wasn't halfway in. I was all the way in. And when you're all the way in, being replaced feels like being erased, but I'm not erased. I'm just healing at a pace that reflects depth, and depth doesn't reset in 7 days. So yeah, she replaced me in a week, but that week doesn't define my worth. It defines her coping speed. And one day when she finally slows down, she might realize you can replace a person's position, but you can't replace the way they loved you. And that's something no one swaps out in 7 days. There's a different kind of pain that comes from being replaced quickly. It's not just heartbreak, it's humiliation. And I don't mean humiliation in a loud, dramatic way. I mean the quiet kind, the kind where you sit alone thinking, how did I not see this coming? Because when someone moves on in a week, it makes you question your awareness. Were there signs I ignored? Did she emotionally detach months before I noticed? Was I holding on to something that was already slipping through my hands? And that's the part that messes with your head the most. Because now it's not just about losing her. It's about doubting yourself, your intuition, your judgment, your ability to read people. You start replaying moments that once felt normal. That random argument, that night she seemed distant, that time she picked up her phone and turned it away slightly, that period where she felt off but said she was fine. At the time, you trusted her words. Now you question everything, because if she replaced you in 7 days, your brain automatically assumes she had a head start, and whether that's true or not, the damage is the same. It makes you feel like you were the only one fully in it, like you were the only one fighting for something she had already decided to let go of, and that imbalance feels like betrayal, even if technically it wasn't, because the emotional timing didn't match. You were still invested, she was already transitioning, and that creates this gap, a painful one, where you're grieving something she already processed, or avoided, or replaced, and it makes you feel late, like you're the last one to realize the relationship was over, and I hate that feeling, because I don't like feeling behind. I don't like feeling like I was operating with outdated information. I don't like feeling like I was loving someone who had already emotionally packed their bags, but maybe that's the reality. Maybe the breakup wasn't the beginning of her detachment. Maybe it was the end of it. Maybe she had already done her grieving while I was still trying to fix things. And that realization hurts in a different way. Because now it's not just that she moved on fast, it's that she moved on before I even knew we were done. And I'm stuck here wondering when it actually ended. Was it weeks before the breakup? Months? Did she slowly disconnect while I was still showing up? Because that's the part nobody prepares you for. The possibility that you were loving someone who was already halfway gone. And if that's true, then I wasn't replaced in a week. I was replaced long before that. I just didn't know it yet. But here's the thing, I'm slowly starting to understand. Even if she emotionally left before I did, that doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make me naive. It means I was committed. It means I was still trying. It means I was operating in good faith. And I'd rather be the one who stayed genuine than the one who quietly exited without saying it, because I know how I loved. I didn't keep options open. I didn't emotionally detach while pretending everything was fine. I didn't start building something new while something old was still alive. When I was in it fully. And if she replaced me in a week, then that says something about her capacity to detach, not about my capacity to matter. Still, that week will probably always sting, not because of the new guy, but because of what it symbolized. How quickly someone can shift focus, how fast attention can be redirected, how easy it can look to replace what felt permanent. But maybe permanence isn't about how long something lasts, maybe it's about how deeply it was felt. And if I'm still here processing it while she moved on fast, then maybe I was the one who felt it deeper. And that doesn't make me the loser. It makes me the one who actually experienced it. 7 days might have been enough for her to move forward, but it's not enough to erase what I gave, and I refuse to let her timeline rewrite my value, because being replaced quickly hurts, but being genuine never does. There's something else that hurts about being replaced in a week. It makes you question whether you were ever chosen or just convenient, because if someone can transition that smoothly, that fast, it starts to feel like you were just occupying space, like you weren't irreplaceable, like you were temporary comfort, and nobody wants to feel like temporary comfort. I keep thinking about the way she used to look at me, the way she said things like, I don't see myself with anyone else, the way she made it seem like what we had was rare, and now I'm sitting here wondering how rare something can really be if it can be replaced in 7 days. That's what makes it sting. Because rarity isn't supposed to be swappable, depth isn't supposed to be interchangeable. If something is special, it's supposed to leave a gap when it's gone. But her life doesn't look like there was a gap, it looks filled immediately. And that creates this internal conflict. Was I overestimating my importance? Did I romanticize something that was lighter to her than it was to me? Because when you care deeply, you assume the other person feels the same weight. You assume the attachment is mutual. You assume the history matters equally. But being replaced quickly makes you realize something uncomfortable. Not everyone feels at the same depth you do. Some people attach fast and detach faster. Some people build quickly and rebuild quicker. Some people don't see relationships as something sacred. They see them as something seasonal. And maybe that's the difference between us. Maybe I treat connection like something that deserves reverence, and she treats it like something that deserves momentum, because momentum doesn't stop, it just redirects, and that's exactly what she did. She redirected. The same attention, the same affection, the same emotional energy, just different recipient, and that's hard to swallow because it makes you feel like the container didn't matter, just the feeling. But here's the part I'm slowly realizing. If someone can redirect their attachment that fast, then maybe what they were attached to wasn't you. It was a feeling of being with someone. And that's not the same thing. There's a difference between loving a person and loving the experience of not being alone. And if she loved the experience more than she loved me, then of course she could replace me quickly, because she wasn't replacing a soul connection, she was replacing the role. And that hurts, but it also clarifies, because I don't want to be someone's role. I don't want to be someone's emotional placeholder. I don't want to be someone's for now. I want to be chosen with intention, held with depth, missed when I'm gone. And if she could swap me out in a week, then maybe I wasn't held the way I thought I was. But that doesn't mean I wasn't valuable. It just means she didn't hold me deeply. And those are two different things. Still, there's something about the speed that keeps echoing. 7 days. It makes it feel like I didn't leave a mark, like I didn't leave impact, like I didn't leave space. But I know that's not true, because impact isn't measured by how long someone stays single. It's measured by what they learned, what they felt, what they carry forward. And even if she doesn't feel it now, one day when the distraction fades, when the excitement settles, when she's sitting in quiet, you might finally process what she skipped, and by then I won't be waiting. Because here's what I'm starting to understand. Being replaced quickly doesn't mean you were insignificant. It means the other person couldn't sit with loss, and loss reveals maturity. If I'm still here processing, still reflecting, still rebuilding, then I'm not behind, I'm just doing it properly. 7 days might have been enough for her to move forward, but it's not enough to erase who I was, and I refuse to let her timeline determine my value, because I wasn't just someone she dated, I was someone who showed up fully, and that doesn't become meaningless just because someone else showed up faster. She replaced me in a week, but that week says more about her relationship with discomfort than it does about my worth. There's another layer to this that I don't talk about out loud. Anger, not loud anger, not screaming or crashing out. The quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest when you realize how easily someone redirected what you treated like sacred. Because I stayed loyal, I stayed committed, I stayed focused, and she moved on in 7 days. That makes you question fairness. It makes you feel like you played the game honestly while someone else was already preparing their next move. And I hate that it feels like a game, because I never approached it like one. When I was with her, I wasn't scanning the room for upgrades, I wasn't entertaining backups, I wasn't lining up options just in case. I was in it, fully, and now I'm sitting here realizing she either wasn't or she detached long before I knew. And that's what builds resentment. The idea that I was emotionally present while she was emotionally preparing. Because now it feels like I was loyal to a version of her that didn't exist anymore, like I was committed to something she had already mentally ended, and that realization stings. But here's where it shifts, because the anger starts turning into clarity. If she could replace me that quickly, then she was already disconnecting. And if she was already disconnecting, then the relationship wasn't as mutual as I believed. And if it wasn't mutual, then I wasn't losing someone who was fully invested. I was losing someone who was already halfway out. That doesn't make it hurt less, but it reframes it, because now it's not about me being not enough. It's about her not being anchored. Anchored people don't drift that fast. Anchored people don't swap attachments like playlists. Anchored people sit with loss, and if she didn't sit with it, then maybe she never held it deeply. And that realization hurts, but it also frees me, because I don't want someone who can replace depth with distraction. I don't want someone who needs constant attention to feel stable. I want someone who values history, who respects connection, who understands that what you build with someone isn't disposable. And if she replaced me in a week, then maybe I was disposable to her. But that doesn't mean I'm disposable in general. It just means she wasn't built to keep me. And there's a difference. Still, there's a part of me that wonders if she ever thinks about it, if she ever pauses, if she ever compares, if she ever realizes how fast she moved, but I can't live in that space, because waiting for someone to feel what you felt is a trap, and I refuse to trap myself in her timeline. 7 days, that's how fast she moved, but here's the truth. I'd rather take my time healing than rush into something new just to prove I can. I'd rather rebuild properly than distract myself temporarily, because I know what I gave, and I know how I showed up. And I know I don't need to rush into something new to validate that. She replaced me in a week, but I'm rebuilding myself at a pace that lasts, and that's not weakness, that's depth. You know what else being replaced in a week does? It makes you question whether you were ever truly seen. Because if someone really sees you, your patterns, your effort, your loyalty, your depth, they don't just slide into something new like you were a temporary rental. They feel the absence, they sit in it, they notice the difference, and I keep wondering if she noticed the quiet after I stopped calling, if she noticed the lack of consistency I used to bring, if she noticed that the stability I provided isn't something you just duplicate overnight, or if she just filled the silence so fast that there was no space to notice it all. That's what hurt, the possibility that I wasn't deeply registered, that I was experienced but not understood, because there's a difference between being with someone and truly knowing them. And when someone replaces you quickly, it feels like they never fully knew the weight of what they had. It feels like they liked the experience of you, not the essence of you, and I can handle someone not choosing me. But it's harder to handle feeling like I was easy to move past. I keep thinking about how careful I was, how intentional I was, how I didn't play games, how I didn't keep backups, how when things got hard, I leaned in instead of pulling away. And in the end, it feels like none of that slowed her down. 7 days. That number keeps echoing like a clock ticking in reverse, because for me, 7 days after a breakup feels raw. It feels heavy. It feels like I'm still adjusting to the silence, but for her, 7 days was enough to build something new. And that contrast makes you feel like you loved harder than you were loved. And that's a lonely realization, because loving harder isn't something you brag about. It's something you feel when the other person moves on faster, and you're left holding the emotional weight. But here's what I'm starting to see clearly. Just because she moved on quickly doesn't mean she processed it deeply. Speed isn't strength. Speed can be avoidance. Speed can be distraction. Speed can be ego protection. Sometimes people rush into something new not because the old thing meant nothing, but because it meant too much. Because sitting alone would force them to face what they lost, and not everyone is strong enough to sit in that kind of silence, and maybe I am. Maybe the reason I'm still here thinking, reflecting, feeling is because I actually let it hit me. I didn't numb it, I didn't immediately replace it, I didn't run from it, I sat with it. And sitting with pain requires maturity. It requires discipline, it requires emotional depth. So maybe this isn't about me being less valuable, maybe it's about me being more capable of processing, and that's not weakness, that's growth. Still, there's something about knowing she's creating new memories that stings, because those were supposed to be ours. The random laughs, the new places, the inside jokes. Now someone else gets that version of her, and I have to let go of the idea that it was only meant for me. And that's hard, but here's the truth I can't ignore anymore. If she could replace me in a week, then I was loving someone who wasn't built to stay long term. Because people who are built to stay don't detach that fast. They don't redirect that easily. They don't swap depth for novelty overnight. And I don't want someone who can treat connection like it's interchangeable. I want someone who understands the weight of history. Who understands that what you build with someone isn't disposable? Who understands that real attachment doesn't reset in 7 days? So yeah, she replaced me in a week, but I'm rebuilding myself in a way that lasts longer than a rebound ever will. And when I look back at this one day, I won't just remember the hurt, I'll remember the clarity, because being replaced quickly doesn't mean you were insignificant. It means the other person wasn't anchored, and I refuse to confuse someone else's instability with my lack of worth. 7 days might have been enough for her to move forward, but it's not enough to erase what I was. And one day, when I'm with someone who values depth the way I do, this week won't define me. It'll just be proof that I was never meant to stay where I was easily replaced. At some point, the hurt turns into something quieter. Not lighter, just quieter. Because you can only replay 7 days so many times before your brain gets tired of the echo. And when the noise slows down, clarity starts creeping in. I started asking myself a different question. Not why did she replace me so fast, but why am I measuring my value through her speed? Because that's what I was doing without realizing it. I was using her timeline as a mirror. If she moved on quickly, I must not have mattered deeply. If she looks happy, I must have been replaceable. If she didn't hesitate, I must not have left impact. But that logic is flawed. Her speed is not a measurement of my depth. Her distraction is not a reflection of my worth. Her ability to move forward quickly doesn't erase the way I showed up. And once I started separating those things, something shifted. Because I know how I loved, I know I was intentional, I know I was loyal, I know I didn't treat what we had like it was temporary. So if she did, that says something about her capacity, not my value. And I had to stop turning her coping style into my insecurity, because that's what I was doing. I was letting her rebound rewrite my confidence. I was letting her quick transition convince me I was forgettable. But forgettable doesn't leave you reflecting. Forgettable doesn't leave you rebuilding. Forgettable doesn't leave you questioning your own growth. What we had meant something, even if she chose not to sit in that meaning. And maybe that's the difference between us. I process, she replaces. I reflect, she redirects. I sit with the silence, she fills it. And neither is necessarily wrong, but one builds depth, the other builds distraction, and depth always wins in the long run. Because distraction fades, novelty fades, rebounds lose their adrenaline, and when that happens, whatever was avoided eventually resurfaces, and by then I won't be stuck in the same place, because while she rushed forward, I rebuilt properly, and rebuilding properly takes longer, but it lasts longer too. 7 days might have been enough for her to feel okay, but it wasn't enough for me to lose myself, and that's what matters. So yeah, she replaced me in a week. And for a while that felt like proof that I wasn't enough, proof that I was temporary, proof that I was easy to move past. But now, it feels like proof of something else. Proof that I love deeply. Proof that I don't detach easily. Proof that I don't treat connection like it's disposable. Because if I could have replaced her that fast and didn't, that says something. It says I value what I build. It says I respect history. It says I don't jump into something new just to soothe my ego. And I'd rather be the one who heals slowly than the one who forgets quickly. Because forgetting quickly doesn't mean you're strong. Sometimes it just means you're avoiding. And I don't want to avoid. I want to grow. I want to understand what worked, what didn't, what I tolerated, what I ignored. I want to rebuild my confidence without attaching it to someone else's timeline. She replaced me in a week, but she didn't replace my character. She didn't replace my loyalty. She didn't replace my ability to love fully. And one day, someone is going to experience that depth and recognize it immediately. Not treat it like a placeholder, not treat it like a phase, but treat it like something rare. Because rare things don't get swapped in 7 days. They get protected, so maybe this wasn't about me being replaced. Maybe it was about me being redirected away from someone who could move on that quickly towards someone who won't. 7 days hurt, but it also clarified. I don't want to be in a position where I can be replaced that easily ever again. And the only way to guarantee that is to choose someone who understands the weight of what they're holding. And next time, I will.